Okay, that was
Witsit, you're paused, bro.
Thank you. Okay.
He hasn't brought us in, I don't think.
So, my bad. Don't make it weird.
Yeah, he once he brings us in the room, I think we'll be able to hear him.
No, the chat's saying it's muted.
Okay, so what I was saying is
no
that
sound.
this is...
You got no sound with it.
I muted it. That's my bad.
Witsit.
What I was saying was that this is...
I don't think you can hear us anymore.
With episode
The chat's
3.
going crazy.
You guys can hear me now. There's no doubt. Witsit kicks it with Kaleb and Derik.
Still go.
I can hear them, so like I can like.
Poor Witsit, bro. He's not looking down either.
They have to be able to hear me now, because okay, there we go. We're good.
No.
Okay, so sorry about all that. I can just hear them in the background telling me because they're delayed, but I fixed it. I fixed it. So Witsit kicks it with Kaleb and Derik, episode 3,
dude.
And we're reviewing the 3v3 debate we had with like Blitz, Globy McGlobeface or something. I don't know their names, but anyway, 3v3 should be cool. And hopefully you guys enjoy it. Sorry about that. I do it all the time. I have a mute on my audio interface, and I have a mute on here. So I'm like, oh, we're good. I unmuted it, and I forgot about the audio.
I'm trying to get a hold of Witsit, guys. He can't hear me either. I'm trying to tell him as much as you are.
Dude, I can hear you guys in the back too, but I guess it's like they can't hear me. Okay. Okay. Now you guys in the back can hear me. I found out I was muted. I already fixed it. You're delayed. Whew, everything's good. Okay. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bring them on. Don't make it weird. It's okay. This is hilarious, dude. If you guys had heard what I was hearing, it's like I was hearing them talk the whole time, and I'm like, I already fixed it, but they don't know I fixed it.
Oh no! Wait, how is it on delay on Zoom?
I'm gonna catch up with the people in the back. Like I said, Kaleb and Derik. We're gonna go ahead and bring them on. Legends, if you don't know who they are, I did drop Kaleb's links in the description, and I'll drop Derik's as well. Cool. So I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. So I'll stop making this so awkward. Here we go. Without further ado, Kaleb and Derik. Everyone should be able to see and hear you. How's it going, fellas?
What is going on, guys? So I'll go first. That was hilarious. I was so confused because people were in chat like, I can hear Kaleb giggling. They're saying you were muted. So we got to figure it out again. Like Witsit said, don't make it weird. I'm Kaleb. Obviously, I run a TikTok that's currently Kaleb.fe. I've been banned twice off TikTok. Me and Derik run a podcast called Unearthing 5D Reality. Very similar to like what Crow is doing over at Crow 777 Radio, where we kind of just talk over all the pseudoscience and all of the political things and basically everything, germ theory, all that stuff is over on our channel where we've talked over all those topics, as well as we destroy heliosexuals on the daily with debates, as well as what Witsit does over here, which is a huge influence on me and Derik. We study a lot of his content that he puts out. And Witsit sends me a lot of documents that I read over to refine my arguments with. So, yep, that's pretty much me. Simply just hate the globe. So, Derik?
Yeah, guys, how's it going? I'm Derik. I every day try to debunk the globe because I think that if we point out the deception and the things that would come from revealing that deception, we can make a huge change in the world. And I think that's something that all of us can agree that we need as a change in the world. And so every day we try to point out the things that the government are hiding from us and the things that they're trying to keep secret so that they could keep running their economy and everything the way they want it. So, yeah, I think that the globe is one of the biggest ways to that change. And so every day we just try to point it out.
Nice. As soon as we started the stream, everything went chaotic. Like your guys' screens changed too. But anyway, we got it kind of looking all right. We're going to go ahead and switch to the other scene. Don't make it weird. Don't make it weird. I was muted when I pointed out I'm an OBS boomer, but I have an excuse. I'm new to OBS. All right, cool. We're gonna go ahead and pop over and watch the debate, and it should be cool. And like I said, if you don't already follow these guys, check them out in the description. I'll make sure to edit it. And I said this to them quite a bit. I'll say this before we get started, that I think that like the younger generation is who's really gonna bring it home. A lot of people are like super weird and they're like, I'm the flat earther, I'm the super truther. You should just like help out the younger generation, be like, yo, this is everything that took me a long time to figure out. Take it, eat it, and keep it pushing. And that's how we're gonna win. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the debate. And we're just gonna kind of freestyle this, and you guys talk whenever you want to. Same thing as always, if you guys send over 20 bucks, it's gonna read out loud, and we'll keep up with the super chats if you have questions. All right, cool. Hopefully all the audio works good. Let's see how it works. Let me know if there's an echo.
Paul from Tinfoil Hat, he creates these tinfoil hats, if you guys didn't know. He has been paralyzed from the waist down from a cancerous tumor that they found on his spine. And then if you guys, Blitz, if you want to tell who your guys' proceeds are going to, but I just want to make it extremely clear, the super chats that you guys send in, they need to be $10 and up if you actually want to ask a question to either side, to the Flat Earth side or the Globe Earth side. So make sure you attach it.
We are watching it sped up to go ahead. And...
Are you hearing anything?
You guys can't hear it?
No.
Oh, man. All right, just a
That's
second.
going to be a whole ordeal.
Yeah, maybe so.
I think
you can't hear anything.
Sound. You have to share sound.
Yeah, share sound with us.
How do I do that?
Oh, I don't know. You have to be host.
All right, let me see. I'm sorry. It's okay, man. It makes it organic. Oh, maybe I'll just have to share my screen with you guys. Because what I'm doing is using virtual cam. I'll just share the screen.
And when you share screen, there should be a checkbox.
Yeah.
For sure. Audio too. I think that's yeah.
There we go. All right. Cool. Oh, but it's gonna change the cameras. Oh my god, this is so annoying. Like,
bruh. Why do they gotta do this? It changed my view. What?
Yeah, no, it's changed everyone's camera. All right, you can see my screen though, right?
I see your screen. Yeah.
Okay. We're just gonna not let you be seen by anyone, and then we're gonna keep going. I'm just kidding. Someone send some questions or something. I actually don't know how to do this at all. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's see.
Some people were saying I missed the debate. This will be a good time to watch it because we'll be able to go over the points in more depth without them here to scream over us and like try to derail the argument. As well as if you haven't seen it, here you go. You'll get to watch it with us. So it'll be entertaining.
Yeah. I don't even know how to change the view. How do people do this?
I don't know.
So
we might need freaking Tribune's in the chat. Tribune is pretty good at
yeah, I need to share the sound with them, but keep them on the right view, and I don't even see a view option anymore. Participants.
You might have to screen capture again through OBS and then pull our. Unless that you already did that.
Yeah, I'm screen sharing right now. Control Z on OBS if you mess up a frame. Yeah, but okay.
Yeah. Yep, that'll work.
a question if you want a question asked and who the question is for, and make sure that it's above $10 if you want it to be read, as well as you can donate more if you feel like helping these two guys out that really need it. So if you guys can introduce who your guys' proceeds are going to, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so hi everybody, I'm Blitz. I'm sure stuff is linked in the description. Our proceeds are going to be going to a man named Dean. He's a regular content creator on the Globe side of TikTok. He goes by Truth by Science or True by Science on TikTok. He recently had serious jaw surgery. He had an infection, I believe, and had to have some bone grafting done. And while he was able to put a down payment thanks to many donation campaigns in the last few weeks, he's still struggling with medical debt. So our half of the donations will be going to him.
Nice. Jaren, you want to say anything else?
Excellent. No, that's about it. Unless you want to have people introduce themselves real quick, just say who you are so people know.
Yeah, let's all do that. Let's have Austin, Derek, and Globeman and Globey do it real quick.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm Austin from WitsitGetsIt on YouTube. And I'm not familiar with all the TikTokers, to be honest, because I'm censored everywhere else, so I can only imagine. But yeah. So Witsit or Austin, whichever one.
Sounds good. And there you go, Derek.
Awesome, guys. I'm Derek. Just as a TikTok, you can find me at Derek.2. I teach the true earth, and I teach common sense about the true earth in the globe model, and I explain it in a way that you should be able to understand. And all we ask is for you to take this debate serious and see the validity of this argument.
Okay, Globeman.
All right, what's going on? I'm Globeman. Again, I'm also from the TikTok side.
There's more dense than the
Bro, yeah. You can hear it the whole time. That's why I didn't speak up much. He was so nervous, bro. That's how he is. That's how he is when you get him on camera. When you get his camera on, he totally acts different. When he has his camera off, he just screams and cries like a little baby.
McGloveface.
Yes, Globey is good.
Jaren, you want to say anything else?
Excellent. No, that's about it. Unless you want to have people introduce themselves real quick.
Mathematical physics. While my colleagues are going to address the claims of this debate directly, I'm going to take
Barely
another
went
approach.
past
I'm going to show that taking the flat Earth claim seriously.
Yeah, I just post content trying to address flat
Yeah,
Earth claims.
it's before the
Awesome, guys. I'm Derek.
or Austin.
I'm on TikTok. You can find me at Derek.2. I teach the true earth, and I teach common sense about the true earth in the
you
globe
can
model.
hear
And I
like
explain it
you
in a
can
way
hear
that
the crack in
you
his
should be able to
voice.
understand. And all we ask is for you to take this debate serious and see the validity of this argument.
Okay, Globeman.
All right, what's going on? I'm Globeman. Again, I'm also from the TikTok
Oh,
side
man.
along with Blitz. And yeah, I just post content trying to address flat earthers' claims. That's pretty much it. Nothing too crazy going on over there.
If anybody deserves it, though, he deserves it.
I'm Dr. Blitz PhD, whatever. I am a TikTok content creator. I do primarily science content. I don't actually do any flat Earth stuff in videos, but I do plenty of flat Earth debates, moon landing debates, and so on. And I'll introduce my credentials in my opening statement.
Excellent. And McGloveface.
Yes, Globey is good.
Globey's
I am a TikTok creator, and I teach that the true Earth is a globe. That's it. Let's go.
Okay, sounds good. We're going to start out with 15 minutes each, and they can organize it however they want, 5 minutes each, or 10 minutes, 2.5, whatever it's going to be. It'll be about 15 minutes to do the openers, and then after that, we can get into open discussion. And it might be a little bit contentious, but if it gets to be too crazy, then we'll go to some sort of structured, 1 minute question, 1 minute answer. Hopefully, we don't have to get there. We can just be gentlemen, but we will see how it goes. And I believe that the globe is going first, correct?
Yes.
Okay, you can begin when you want. Are you going to be screen sharing for the opener or no?
No, I'm not screen sharing, but I believe that the others might be.
Okay.
Right. So, hi everyone. My name is Blitz. I hold a doctorate in mathematical physics. While my colleagues are going to address the claims of this debate directly, I'm going to take another approach. I'm going to show that taking the flat Earth claim seriously comes at a very high price, one that I don't think anyone should be willing to swallow. You see, by suggesting the Earth is flat, a series of positions must be taken in concordance because our knowledge of the world around us is highly intertwined. For example, a flat earther typically has to discount the existence of mass attracting mass, also known as gravity. As we all know that if gravity exists, it would pull any sufficiently large mass, like a planar Earth, into a spherical shape. This rejection of gravity means a rejection of Einstein's general relativity, of course. Note that this claim is absurd on its face because general relativity can be tested locally on Earth in laboratories. Indeed, even early experiments were able to establish a high degree of agreement between the theory and observations. In particular, even as far back as 1964, experiments were devised to measure the effects of gravitational redshift as predicted by Einstein, with results agreeing with the model at the 99% accuracy level. Rather, flat Earth...
What?
Yeah.
Dude, you want to skip 1955 galaxy rotational speeds already debunked the gravitational model and skip to 64 and say that it worked to predict redshift? Yikes.
It's lost in the sauce, bro.
I gotta debate this guy. Like, everyone go at him on TikTok. Why are you scared to come on YouTube?
Yeah, we should tell everyone that. Like, I tried to set up a debate with Witsit and Blitz on one of Witsit's Friday shows, and he said that he wouldn't do it. He'll only do it on TikTok on his live, so he won't come have a normal conversation unless his entire audience is backing him and gifting him. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah, let me clarify for the room here. The debate is 3 hours long, so if we don't play it sped up at all, we'll be here forever, right? So
maybe we should
try
skip the intros and just go straight into the debate.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Share my screen here.
You want to hear their? Yeah, I guess.
I think we should listen to their intro, but not ours,
Let me know when you guys can see this.
Go ahead, you're good.
because we can just refute them
Alright.
as they're going.
So what we're looking at here is a program called Stellarium, which I think you all are familiar with at this point. It is an astronomical application that shows us where all the stars are at any time and date in the future or past. And here we're looking at, can you guys see my mouse? Probably, right?
Yep.
Okay, so here we're looking at Australia. We're in Australia per the red arrow. This was July of last year. That's when I did this observation live on TikTok. And here you see right here is the Southern Cross. That's the Southern Cross constellation and the 2 pointers. Now I'm pointing this out because, as you can see here, we're looking south-southwest. Now this is where the globe model tells us those stars should be at that date and time. Now if I take this and go over to South Africa, don't change the date or time, you'll see the Southern Cross is up higher in the sky, but it's still south-southwest, between south and southwest, south-southwest.
It didn't update for me. Did it update for you guys?
Did what?
No.
It's still showing the one in Australia.
This is one of the funniest parts, bro. This is one of the funniest parts.
My screen shows South Africa. Hold on. How about now?
Yep.
Yeah, you're good now.
I don't know what that was about. All right, so you can see south-southwest is the Southern Cross is way up in the sky now. It's at a higher altitude above the horizon. However, in a different orientation, different angle, but it's still south-southwest. Now you can see here, I'm just in South Africa. Same date and time. We replicated this experiment. This is what I expected to see. We replicated that live on TikTok with an observer in Australia and South Africa. Now, going to Walter Bisland's model, we can see that that observer here in South Africa would have been looking south-southwest, which is right about here on flat Earth. If that's north, that's south, right? That's south-southwest. So the Southern Cross would be about here. That means at the same exact time, an observer over here was seeing the Southern Cross south-southwest, which would be about here, at the same exact time. That means the Southern Cross, and this goes for all the other stars as well, we just happen to be looking at that one, they would have to be in two different locations at the same exact time of night. Or you're going to invoke this model which says that the stars are over here on the left, but the light is bending all the way around to the observer over here.
Dude, they can't get over the line.
No physical,
they just, no matter,
to make that happen.
Can you pause just for 1 sec? No matter how many you tell them, the lines are just arbitrary lines created by the guy who created the model, and they aren't exactly what we think is happening. They can't let that go. Even if you say that just clearly to them, they'll just keep saying the lines don't match.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, I'll wait till it gets to the point too where he's like so lost with the southern stars. It's really funny, but yeah, like it's just an optical effect. The light doesn't physically bend anywhere. It just looks like it's in a certain position based on your curved visual limit. The light is not physically bending anywhere. But I think they do understand that. They can't admit it. Who knows?
That's almost a 180 degree bend of light. So we can take a look. I don't know how much time, I didn't look at the time, but
you got
this is
2.5.
How much time I got left?
2.5
Anybody
minutes.
paying attention?
2.5 minutes for you.
All right, thank you. All right, so that model. This is the gentleman in South Africa. I don't know how well this is going to be able to be seen here. And it's what time is it by you right now? They are the 2 pointers.
It's 7:25 p.m.
7:25 p.m. All right, so we're going to check this.
Okay, heads up. I think I know how to change the view, but I don't know what it's going to do to the stream. But we're just going to try it. Show small active speaker video.
Send it.
All right, let's see what happens.
And I do just want to point out that the people who helped Globy do this experiment are concave earthers. So like they go against the flat earth to try to debunk it. Like it's about the lie that we're being told. That's what matters the most. And so like we just have to expose the globe, not attack other people who are seeking the truth.
Concavers can be extra though, man, because they like they get mad at flat earthers.
They do. That's what's weird. I don't know.
My favorite is when McToon rages, bro. He gets so mad, bro. That just makes me so happy.
Like for the concave earthers to like team up with ballers. I mean, you're teaming up with someone that just can't let go of the mainstream at all. You think they're gonna ever be on your side? I mean, water still has to bend. Okay.
Yep. That's what I mean. Is like, why wouldn't they be working with us? Like, we're the ones who have an open mind. The globe people aren't gonna open their mind for nothing. So like, it's weird that they're like working together.
Yep. Super goofy. I've definitely experienced it though.
There's the Southern Cross here. And he looks down and show you the compasses.
All right, that works. So we're going to check this against.
Get to where he's showing the compass.
And
Here's the compass. All right, so south-southwest was on the compass.
yeah, southwest.
Okay. I'm going to go through this kind of fast because of time.
And there are the pointers.
You can watch this all uncut on my page, and here's the observation from Australia. Now, take a note that the angle of the stars is the same as Stellarium was showing, as well as the height above the ground. So there's the observation from Australia. So this is just really all you need, in my opinion, as far as whether or not the Earth is flat. And this is really because this is what you're saying is happening. And all these observers looking south are seeing the same stars in different directions at the same time. When in reality, let me mute this. When in reality, the reason we see all these stars looking the same way is because the Earth is spherical, and everybody looking south from the southern hemisphere is looking indeed south. This is what you're seeing. Now, tell me, does this make more sense that everybody's looking south at the same stars at the same time because they are indeed looking the same direction? Or does the flat Earth model make more sense, in which you have to replicate stars infinitely around the outside of the Earth all at the same time? Okay, I'll leave it there. Pass this over to Globe Man.
Wow.
Okay, Globe Man, you got 5 minutes.
All right, sounds good.
Take the share. I don't even know how to stop sharing here, Globe Man.
I think at the bottom of the screen, it should let you stop.
Stars looking south.
Globe Man stumble through his script. Oh no, he doesn't even. He plays a video. Just skip Globe Man's video. It's so terrible.
Yeah.
If he's not even gonna talk live, that was so disgusting to see him just play a video for his opener, bro. What are you doing?
Is this your guys's?
Yeah, that's me.
Okay, let's skip us.
Blitz is just a monologue as well. His opening's just, if we consider the Earth to be flat, we'd have to change everything. Even though whenever we do anything in reality, we say the Earth is flat.
Gravity would make a flat Earth a ball. This is where I cover the Southern Cross. The only part that I want to show, because this becomes very relevant, right? Like I show this right here. This is keeping the same date and time. Okay, 3 positions keeping the same dates and the same time in Stellarium, which will be very relevant in a second. All right, let's go. Right here should be good.
But we can try and open it up at first. Go right ahead.
Sounds good to me.
You want to address the star thing since that was the last thing mentioned?
Yeah, how does the light bend nearly 180 degrees?
So you didn't listen. So,
no, I mean, yeah, refraction happens, and we both agree that perspective works, right? We both agree that that railroads look like they converge to a point, but that's not a 180-degree bend.
Okay, first of all, the light's not physically bending; it's an optical effect. So can you let's meet in the middle here? Can you explain to me how anticorpuscular rays work on the globe Earth?
Yeah, it's the same perspective thing as railroads.
Right. So what I just showed in the presentation is actually when we look at them from the outside, we see them curving. So if I had a railroad track going over top of my head and I looked in both directions and saw them converging, they wouldn't be curving. Why are they curving?
Right. In Walter Bisson's the thing that you pulled up, if you there are particular stars that you can see, the light comes over and then to the front, or to the so light comes from the north, or from I guess from the other side of the world from your perspective, comes over the azimuthal field of view, and then comes in from the other side. It bends 180 degrees around. How does that work?
Actually, it doesn't bend 180 degrees.
Nearly 180 degrees.
You just made that. Yeah. So you guys always do
I can
that.
show you a picture.
You always do that.
I'll share my screen.
But this is what's interesting. You didn't answer my question. So whenever we have anticorpuscular rays on the globe, and you said that it's like railroad tracks, I just explained, well, how come when we look at them, they're curved? So if I have a point on the horizon that looks like the light rays are converging, and then I have a point on the opposite direction, 180 degrees, where it looks like the light's converging, and I draw a line over my head from point to point, I'm going to get a curve or a dome. So how come when we look at them in real life, we see them curving from point to point? How does that work if it's like railroad
We
tracks?
both agree that perspective is a thing.
So you're saying perspective makes things curve?
Yeah, of course, but not 180 degrees.
Okay, so perspective's not purely Euclidean geometry, and it actually makes things curve.
I mean, yeah, perspective is a projection from Euclidean space to a hemispherical space.
So it makes the parallel light rays from the sun appear to curve to each convergence
diverge
point.
or to converge.
Well, no, but it curves from point to point, though.
So I don't actually know what phenomenon you were talking about. You were talking about like this bowing effect. I mean, the parallel light rays behind you and in front of you, yes, that's a diverging or a converging effect when you see corpuscular rays or anticorpuscular rays. I don't know what other light vector we're talking about because you didn't name it. So
I just showed the picture of the convergence.
You didn't actually tell us what it is.
Yeah, when you look at the convergence on each position of the horizon, they curve to meet each other. So see if you can answer this.
What?
If there's
What's this a picture of?
It's a picture of the actual light from the outside on the Earth. Like, see if you can answer this. If I have a point on the horizon, right, and say it's in the west, and then I have a point that's in the east on the horizon where these rays look like they're converging, right? If I'm going to connect the point to the west and the point to the east, and it goes over my head, what am I going to get?
You'll get something that looks like it's converging towards an infinity point in front of you, and it'll look like it's diverging from behind you.
Okay, so if I want to connect the 2 points with a line, but it has to go over my head, what do I get?
So are you connecting them in real life? Are you actually asking the path that the light takes, or are you asking what direction does it look like the light takes?
Sure, do the latter.
Of course it'll look like it'll curve over you, sure.
Okay.
Nobody's denying that.
So you're
hold
admitting
on.
that the light's straight, but it looks like it's curving?
Yeah, except again, this is a bowing effect that you'll see, right? You'll see a bowing effect. You will not see something bending, going straight, and then bending around, which is exactly what Walter Bislin's model does, which you cited.
Dude, he just conceded that every single thing you see in the sky works on a flat Earth.
Yeah, he literally said, quote, "We see Euclidean geometry through hyperbolic space."
Yeah, hemispheric. It's
hemispheric space. Yeah. He even admitted the Doma perspective, which they'll all, like, most of the TikTokers will still deny this. Like, they still be like, no, that's not how we see it because the Earth's a ball. But
no, they have to. I've never even heard a baller concede it because they normally know the implications. This guy is, like, frankly blinded by ego, so he's like, yeah.
This is why it'd be a good chat for you. Like, it'd be sweet to have him on because he can logically go through it all and realize the point, and you can just walk him through the point. Like, me and Derek debated him for like 2 hours, bro. And by the end of the 2 hours, bro, was pissed. Like, similar to how he's about to get with this debate. So I wish he could, but yeah, he's
yeah. That's pretty funny. That's a major part of the debate. It's like from the very beginning, he admitted that.
Yeah, it explains all perspective. Like,
yeah. Dude, it's so funny because then he has to go back into the lights physically bending.
First of all, you actually just said it again. It doesn't bend 180 degrees. That's
Can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure. I would love to show me 180 degrees. Sure. And by the way, on Walter's model, these are arbitrary stars he placed in the sky, right? These aren't actual stars.
See this right here? That red ray? See how it bends? Nearly
can we see that star in real life?
Apparently, yeah. You would say that you could because this is a southern star.
Really? So when we're on this side of the Earth, we can see the southern star at night the same time the other observers are seeing the southern stars?
So which stars do you think that you should be able to see?
These are not real stars. Did you not know that? These are arbitrary made-up stars.
Of course they're not, but this is the model that you brought up. So I'm just saying that your model is absurd.
This is awesome. So yeah, the anti-flat earther Walter Bislin made this model, and he found out he couldn't debunk it. So what he did was...
which stars are real?
Debunks itself.
He interrupts a lot, though. Would he do that if I had him on the show, you think?
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
Now, so these are arbitrary stars. These aren't real stars. So you just drawing random arbitrary lines to stars doesn't somehow debunk flat Earth. Let's look at what stellarium and the actual observations show us that we can truly see, and then we'll map it out. And guess what? It works every time. So these arbitrary made-up bendy light rays mean nothing.
Did you miss my presentation where I showed you stellarium and I showed you the Southern Cross south-southwest for both those observers?
Did you miss my presentation where I specifically addressed exactly what direction they're looking?
You didn't. That was a different time of day. That was a different date. So yes, they do.
It doesn't matter.
Of course it matters. It's going to change where they are.
Okay, this is majorly important. So this is the miscommunication when he says it's a different time of day, right? Like, it was the same day in the same time, right? Like, they're literally the same exact day in time. Okay.
That's it. Oh, yeah. You looked it up specifically, right?
Yeah, it's UTC, same day, same time. Like, it's only like a couple minutes because it took that long to go and pick the other position. Like, you're muted, but it's the same exact day and time.
Yeah.
So I was thinking he was saying that this, because I thought he was actually paying attention. I thought he was saying that the ones that he showed were a different day than the ones that I showed. But what he meant was that each different like view, like location, I was showing different days and different times. No. It was the same day, the same time for all three positions. See, the miscommunication here was when he said, "Oh, it's just a different day." I'm like, I thought he was saying, "Well, mine that I show was a different day." I'm like, that doesn't matter. You know, that's irrelevant. It's like if you're sitting there seeing them from the same three positions, then whatever. So it's hilarious because in reality, I showed the exact same days and time. He basically claimed that they were different days and times, which shows he doesn't have any idea what he's talking about, right? So it's pretty funny, but hopefully that made sense to everyone.
He's just talking to talk.
Yeah, but that was a major miscommunication. Like, where I'm like, that doesn't matter. I thought he was actually paying attention to the presentation, so I'm like, he thinks that since he showed a totally different day than I did, somehow that changes something, but it wouldn't. No. It's all about, of course, seeing the Southern Cross at different southern continents. Okay.
The sky. Why would which date we do it on?
You claim that
I showed you July. I showed you July, the date we did the observation. The Southern Cross was south-southwest for both those observers. Do you disagree now with the stellarium data?
No, I just invoked the stellarium data to show that they all look southwest, and I showed that it doesn't even match on the globe, and that it matches perfectly.
You're dodging my question now. That's a different day, right?
Wait, it's the same effect.
It's the same effect. So on this day in July, the Southern Cross is exactly south-southwest. You see my
screen? He repeats what you say.
Okay. So if I go to Australia, the Southern Cross is still south-southwest.
See, that's why I said it's the same effect, because it doesn't matter if it was July or June. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But he's claiming that like each of the three screenshots I showed were from 3 different days. Like, no. They're literally the same UTC time, buddy.
Yeah, they do that to try to confuse people.
Okay. You didn't move. No.
Well, you think it's intentional? I think he's just lost. But who knows? You know
I
him
don't
better
know.
than I do.
Maybe he didn't interpret the information, but he would do something like that.
Oh, really?
Like, really, like that. Like in TikTok debate, he'll literally just reply, just to say no, just to say something. He'll throw anything out. It's literally
Yeah,
that.
it's the theme of the Globe Earthers. They'll just hope that people don't really look into anything, and they'll just believe it. So they'll say whatever they have to say to get a nut in there.
Yeah.
Frankly, what I think it is he thinks it's impossible to explain on a flat Earth. And so he assumed that when I showed them, I must have been using different days and different times. So he just assumed it, right?
Yeah.
But he wasn't paying attention. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not updating for some reason when you
Oh, it
use it.
doesn't update when I switch. So how about now? It might just be delayed.
Yeah, okay, it's
Good
it
Okay,
updated
so
now.
there's the south-south, there's the Southern Cross again, exactly south-southwest. So this is the stellarium data that you just referenced yourself. Different date and time, sure, but this is the stellarium data. So now you showed this. Now this person in Africa or South America here is looking southeast, and this person's looking southwest.
Okay, so this is
Why
a
don't you
Mercator.
make this work to match the real life observation that I showed you, which is this person here in Australia looking southwest, and this person in Africa looking southwest.
Yeah, it appears you didn't understand my presentation, right?
But I didn't apparently because you didn't.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So you guys need to understand some basic things, okay? The light doesn't physically bend; it's just an optical effect based on your limit of perspective. Do you understand that distinction?
Sure. Although light does bend occasionally, there is refraction.
That's called a non sequitur, so it's irrelevant.
Okay.
Like, there's no way this dude's gonna come debate me, bro.
No, he won't.
So the light doesn't.
He's still salty, bro.
Physically bend. It's an optical effect due to limit of perspective. Now, your paradigm does not claim what Blitz has already claimed. He quickly had to concede that, oh yeah, it'll make it look like it's curved. Well, your paradigm doesn't claim that. Your paradigm claims that it's parallel raised. It does not claim that perspective alone can make it look like it's curving from point to point. It objectively doesn't claim that. So you've already conceded my entire position. As soon as you claim that perspective causes it to look like it optically curves, you're now admitting that all celestial phenomena ever works on a flat Earth. You understand that?
I mean, you're putting words in my mouth. That's not what I said.
You did. You said it would look like it's curved.
We all hold on. Everybody in this channel will acknowledge that railroads look like they're wider when they're underneath you and narrower ahead of you and behind you. That's what a curve looks like. It looks like it's bowing out behind you, bows out at the middle, and then comes in. That's exactly what it looks like. We all acknowledge that.
He specifically acknowledged that it would look like it's going over your head in hemispheric, even though it's actually Euclidean. That's what he said. Right? We all just sat there and heard him say that. He just doubled back. Whatever.
That doesn't debunk the
And furthermore, I wanted to add one more thing.
That's it. That's an ad-hom. Don't do that.
It wasn't
I
an
just wanted to
ad-hom.
say one other thing to add to this. So you had mentioned the crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays, and that's kind of what we're talking about now. So anti-crepuscular rays would not be what we would expect on a flat Earth with a local sun, going above it, right? Crepuscular rays, that's perfectly fine. But again, just as Blitz said, it's going to be just the same thing. It's going to be parallel lines appearing to converge in the distance. And anti-crepuscular rays prove that, because if all the light was just truly going outwards and away from the sun, like the flat Earth would predict, we would not see that converging effect. They would literally be moving away from each other.
What? Dude, you don't? Okay, first of all, perspective is just a thing that happens, okay? And how to interpret perspective is significantly argued amongst the highest levels of academia, whether visual space is Euclidean or hyperbolic, because it gets into intricacies. You can actually look into robotics, and when they begin to precisely match out the optics of visual space and robotics, they realize Euclidean geometry does not work. And we do not have a proportionate linear relationship with optics. It doesn't matter. We see them converge in both situations, whether the Earth is flat or a globe. The point is that when we see them converge in both directions, the sun's not actually 180 degrees behind me when it's setting in the west. So why can I turn to the east and see it? You're saying they're like railroad tracks. So again, the follow-up question is, how come when it goes from east to west, there's a curve that connects the two convergence points, even if they're optical? Why does it curve? According to you, it should be parallel. Over my head, it should be directly straight.
How come you can't look to your right and see that same sun crepuscular rays to your right? Why is it only bent 180?
So you just completely avoided the refutation of your position with a complete out of left field red herring question?
Crepuscular rays don't answer the star question.
Local sun.
Okay, so you can you answer my question? I'll happily. That's ignorant. So wait, in your
By the way, let me just go ahead and apologize to the room for this. I talked way too much at the beginning, and I just talked the whole time. I felt really bad. I already had to apologize to him. So let's see.
Yeah, it's all good.
That had to
Your
happen.
paradigm does
bro.
the light.
It was good to see you go at Blitz like that.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't ad hom, you certainly ad hom a lot.
If my argument was an insult, that would be an ad hom. I haven't done that once. So,
yes, you did.
No, I did. My arguments are very specific and
You want to go with poisoning the well, Witsit?
I'm not doing that. Hey,
have I called you ignorant?
You guys are freaking out, man.
Have I called you ignorant? You're just insulting.
I said your position is ignorant. And I'm explaining why.
Go, Austin. We're going to go to time things. Go ahead. Give a minute. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm asking specifically, why does the optical convergence point on each horizon connected curve? And Blitz immediately conceded, oh, well, yeah, perspective will make it look like it's curved. But he didn't know that was a trap. Okay, so if you concede that, then you concede the entire flat Earth position of the azimuthal grid of observability explaining
connect that concept that you're trying to state to this, okay? Now, look, this pink star, the star with the pink line, is exactly where the Southern Cross was in our observation from South Africa. Now, if I move this over here to Australia, now you're saying this, well, it got rid of the pink line. I'll do it right there. Now you're saying that optically, whatever that means, which means nothing, optically, this light is bending around almost 90 degrees to this person standing over here. And now that person is seeing the same star looking southwest but the star's really over here. That's what you're saying.
So first of all, you understand that it's dropping on the horizon as you get further away from it. You understand that, right?
Altitude doesn't matter, and I do understand that. We're talking
okay,
about
so then
direction.
it's a product of perspective then, right?
Direction, south-southwest. How does south-southwest work for both those observers?
Right. So I showed it in my presentation. All the audience can go back and watch it. But if you look south-southwest, listen, dude, you have azimuthal grid of observability. So as you get further away, it's going to optically drop. That's due to perspective. We can actually map it out, and it perfectly works in an azimuthal grid of vision. The ironic part is it doesn't.
No one's talking about height, though. No one's talking about height. We're talking about cardinal direction. Both those people had compasses, and they both were pointing south-southwest.
Yeah, so, southwest, yes.
South-southwest.
Yeah, and it keeps on getting closer and closer to southwest, right?
No, they were both south-southwest.
So they're the exact same direction?
You're avoiding the question now.
No, I'm not. I explained it in my
video on my YouTube. I will go play the video for you right now. They were both looking south-southwest, and that matches the stellarium data that I showed you twice now.
The stellarium data is what I'm using to explain to you why it doesn't work on the globe.
They were at different altitudes over the horizon. I agree, different altitudes.
Right, okay.
They were at different parts of the globe, but they were both looking south-southwest, which is the part you keep avoiding.
No, because when we're looking out away from the natural rotation of the sky, we have an azimuthal grid of vision, and it's going to cause these optical apparent positions to change relative to our position. We see the same thing with the sun. We see the same thing with the sun. And the reason I had to bring up anticorpuscular and corpuscular rays is because what you guys don't get is you have to invoke the exact same construct to explain the globe. You literally need this for suncalc.org, for time and date, and for stellarium. This is how we got all of our observations. All of it uses an azimuthal grid of observability. Do you guys understand that?
We all keep saying the word azimuthal grid, but that's not an answer to the question of why they're looking south-southwest.
Because you can demonstrate that when you look through curved visual space, the apparent position is different from the actual position, even though the light's not physically bending. It's a perspective of optics.
Just hold on. So
I became a true earther the other day.
Look out. Wait,
I like to think deeply and intellectually like you, so listening to you helped me.
Hey, welcome to the True Word. Let's go. Thank you for the super chat. I think I finally figured out how to get you guys. I have to share my entire display and then boil it down. But I'll get you guys on the camera in a second, so it'll be a little bit more entertaining for everyone. But all right, let's continue. Thank you for the super chat. And while we're doing this, I don't know if that's going to pop up. Hopefully that does pop up. Who knows? But I became a true earther. Oh, you sent that even on a bigger one. Okay. All right, cool. Let's continue.
Witsit, prove it.
Okay, so you can take even just a little dome, and you can actually show the difference in the apparent positions and the actual positions with a little dome, even a paperweight.
Have you done this?
We can prove this by what?
Have you done this?
Yes.
Where?
Absolutely. I have it in my PowerPoint. And we can also show what I explained to you. I showed you the direct observation of the optical convergence points on each horizon curving to meet each point. Your guys are claiming that they're parallel and they're just like railroad tracks. So why are they curving?
It's a different topic. Witsit. That
It's
doesn't
the same topic. It's the same topic.
It's so crazy, dude. Sorry.
Oh, we have so many interactions
clear,
with this dude. They're just completely off in left field. Most of the time, these two, their main tactic is just to rage bait people. They just try to rage bait and get people yelling and screaming. They don't even have to talk about the topic. So, of course, when you actually get them in a moderated debate like this, they'll just...
Some more bread for the gravy, Austin. I need to find out a way to retain information the way you can. Very impressive. God bless you and your family.
I didn't put a minimum, so I guess it's reading it all. I'm gonna have to change that.
Yeah, it's reading everything.
Yeah, I'll read the I'll change the minimum. Sorry, I'm doing like a million things. Give me just a sec to get you guys on there. We'll keep going.
Smooth field of view, right? Like in this picture, and yet there's curving outside of it. How does this work?
So this is what I'm saying. You guys don't understand it. This guy drew arbitrary stars in the sky.
Then
He
why
put
did you use
arbitrary
it?
stars in the sky, and then he arbitrarily determined the curve that would go to the
So then why did you use it? How does it work if not this way? Please explain.
You said this models everything we see in reality. That's what you said.
That's right, but these stars aren't actual star positions. You don't get that?
We can assume one is close because it is close. This one's very close to where we observed it in real life, this pink one here.
Okay.
We went over that. So again, you're not explaining, but you're just saying the word optics, and that doesn't explain why two people can look south-southwest. I did this last week again, by the way. I have that video. I haven't posted it yet. We got a better view of everybody's compasses. Looking again, that one was southwest and south-southwest, so it was a little different than this.
So when I say optics or perspective, how is that somehow different than when I ask you why the anticorpuscular rays happen and you say it's perspective? How's it different?
Well, hold on. We all acknowledge that perspective happens, right?
Well, no, he said I'm just saying birds, though.
Well, I mean,
red
like you're
herring
saying
to a corpuscular sun rays. It's a red herring.
It's not a red herring.
We all know that refraction happens because we both used refraction in our.
All right, we're good. I'm about to switch over to you guys on camera in just a second. So sorry about technical difficulties. It's all my fault. I take it for the team. But here we go. We are going to the other camera angles. Here we go. This should work. Cool. All right, let's keep going. Everyone's on camera.
Let's go.
Arguments. You guys use refraction to explain why there's a horizon dip angle. We use refraction to explain why you can see further than you might be able to than you might expect on a globe Earth. You are invoking perspective as to why these rays bend 90 degrees. We're invoking perspective as to why railroads appear to converge. We both understand that.
You know what? I want to say this.
I want to say this real quick. To explain why we can see something that
I guarantee if we get Blitz in a room, we ask him these exact same questions the exact same way, he might answer them differently.
Yeah, he has to.
He might, but that's what I'm saying. He might switch up where he says that it's not like that anymore, because with how many points
You
he's
should sell your
conceding
debating
to like how
skills
it
for
would.
Hyroston. Allow us common folk to set up Zoom calls to humble our friends and family. Charge by the hour. Flat Earth mercenary.
That's not a terrible idea, but all right, keep going. Sorry,
but I would be funny to it would be funny to do that type of social experiment with Blitz, where we come in the same room, we bring him into a room, we ask him the same questions, see if he answers them the same way, because he is conceding a lot here that he doesn't realize. Like conceding that we see Euclidean geometry through hyperbolic space could explain, like we've explained, every single phenomena that we see from the surface of the Earth into the sky. So. Like there, and what he just said, I can't remember exactly what he just said, but he just keeps agreeing that like we see in hyperbolic space and all of these things. So like, how do we know that it's the physical curvature of the Earth? Like, I don't know if he's making that pitch. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he's actually doing that live, but I don't know.
Well, I'm sure he has now, right? I'm sure they've told him, right? That's why I set him up on purpose, because most people haven't heard it, and now they have heard it, right?
Yeah,
but, yeah. What doesn't matter, like he admitted it, but the questions still remain. If they decide to deny it, crepuscular rays, anti-crepuscular rays, in front of me, behind me, I see them go over my head. So if I'm going to connect them from one horizon to the other horizon, and they have to go over my head, what does that make? The answer is a curve. It's an arc, a dome. There's no other way to go from draw a point on one horizon, move it over my head, and go back down to the other horizon without making a curve. It's goofy. You got to talk to Globers at that remedial level.
Weird that you even have to explain it. Like, it's honestly weird.
It is. All right, let's keep going.
That is south-southwest. And an answer is not azimuthal field of view. That's not an answer. You actually have to explain how that works. How is it that the light the light, which would appear that way if you were just looking directly at it, suddenly, because of your field of view, appears that way?
Yeah,
that's what you have to
and forget the Southern Cross. The Sigma Octantis is right in the center.
You can't even see Sigma Octantis with the naked eye or majority of telescopes. Why it doesn't matter.
A majority of telescopes, that's not an answer, Witsit. It exists, and people see it with their telescopes.
No, when you say people see it, you mean people that you blindly believe, like observatories. It doesn't matter if it does exist or doesn't exist. It's the same argument. There's an optical convergence.
So the constellation Sigma.
It's maybe too complicated of a debate subject.
Yeah, we might want to go to a different topic.
You guys don't understand.
Hold on. Witsit just said.
Yeah, but this is what's so funny. He's like, you can't even explain it. Yeah, the curvature of visual space, I already did. I told him that you could do a demonstration and prove that exact thing happening at that exact ratio. What a coincidence. So you can actually take like a little lens that's curved and like a dome, right? And you can watch, like, say, the sun go over you and do the same thing, same with the stars. And the Atmos acts as a lens. We have a curved visual limit, so that's a perfect analogous demonstration. So you literally can show. It's just the curvature of visual limit causes, and it's actually hyperbolic and elliptic based on distance, based on observation, height, and conditions and stuff like this. But whatever. Who needs, like, the 20 different experiments that have shown this, right? Like, just not us.
Sigma Octantis.
Or just common sense when thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, just they can't concede this, bro. It's really bad for them, because if you take away the sky, the globe has nothing.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of.
It doesn't exist.
I said it doesn't matter if it does or doesn't exist.
Sure, it does, because it's the
Derek,
South Pole.
go ahead, Derek.
Derek.
Hold on, Derek.
We don't have to look at the sky to talk about.
Hold on, Derek. Keep showing this piece of paper. Derek, what are you showing?
So this is if this was the actual star, when you're viewing it from here, looking up, if this is your azimuthal grid of view, this would be its apparent location from here, and this would be its apparent location from here, even though they're in two different spots. Now, if you were seeing the actual location and it was lower, you'd be looking in the same direction. So their argument would work if this were the case. But if we're arguing that you have a grid of view that's a dome and you're seeing an apparent location and not an actual location, depending on how high this star is above your grid of view, it's going to actually widen. So the further up this gets above my paper, the wider it's going to be. Same this, if this one got higher, it would get wider this way. So this would perfectly
southwest. Make it south-southwest for both observers, Derek. You can't do it doing that.
Yes, you can.
If I move this higher, that's what I'm saying. If I move this higher, it widens out.
It'll get to about 90 degrees, but it'll never turn around the other way.
And if it's not exactly over this middle, if it's not dead center, so if this was over here, then it would be south-southwest.
You can replicate this with little domes. You can watch that. If you took a little dome and you took a light and you moved it over in a circle, you're not going to see it move to your right like it's setting to your right in a circle. You're going to see it completely displaced based on your dome of vision. You can literally replicate it. That's why I showed you a real-life observation of the crepuscular and anti-crepuscular rays from the outside converging to the point on the horizon and then curving from point to point. That can only be explained with the fact that the curve is a product of perspective.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about again.
It does, though.
Derek,
it
literally
does.
Piece of paper, Derek, and make those lines go south-southeast for each observer.
If you change the actual location,
it's like they're intentionally obtuse, bro.
No, dude, Globy and Globe Man, they very well might be. Like me and Derek have heard them say stuff like they don't want to take the argument seriously. They just want to demotivate people from talking about it publicly and make them feel stupid. Like they do this type of stuff. Like it's very obvious when you listen to them that they're not intellectually honest, one. Two, they're just probably not smart enough to really follow the debate topics. Like when he says that that's a non sequitur, what you were just talking about, when it's literally the exact point, that's when you know somebody doesn't get it, and when you know somebody might never get it.
Yeah. And what I've realized is that maybe not that people are stupid. It's just that their devotion, their blind devotion to this model renders them stupid. Basically, you have to just kind of like let go of intellect and individual thought. So,
yeah, the first casualty of the globe.
Sorry,
the first casualty of the globe model is common sense. Like that's the first thing that goes once the globe model comes in.
Yeah,
because it goes against all of your common sense. You have to not trust yourself. Not trust your senses, everything that sounds ridiculous, like sticking to a bottom of a ball or flying through a vacuum with air pressure, all of this different stuff, like that sounds insane. You got to just believe it, right? Which goes against what one would assume by looking around and observing nature.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think that's the craziest part. They say the earth is the opposite of everything you ever experience, and you have to trust authority to figure out anything. So people are like, oh, I'm a slave. I must ask authority because I can't figure out anything because everything's the opposite of what I experience. It's pretty crazy spell.
Yeah, it is.
Let's get to where it's not just me talking the whole time.
If you knew the actual data, you'd be able to do it. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend like we know how high the star is versus without the actual data. Globey, good call. Way to be smart. If you don't have all of the actual data, you can't prove it. You can speculate, which is what this is. I'm not sitting here saying this is exactly where the star is over this and but no, I'm showing the viewers that dependent on how far the star is above your grid of view, its apparent location is going to change. Until we actually, do you want to let me talk? You asked me to talk and then you want to interrupt me. Not very cordial. Depending on how far above the star is and its actual location, it will change. And beyond that, on the flat Earth, north is the center. So if you're not looking north, you are looking south. And there's this thing called magnetic declination that changes the apparent location. So if you're pointing your compass south in the southern hemisphere, it says south, sure, but you're not taking into account the magnetic declination that has 10 to 40 degrees change where you have to adjust by 40 degrees from what your compass is pointing to actually have an accurate location that you're looking.
I did that in my observation.
Did you use compass correction in your observation?
Do you know what magnetic declination is from Australia?
Yeah, it destroys the globe.
Yeah, absolutely crushes
it. Really?
Do you know what do you know what the magnetic declination was from Australia when we did?
So if he's saying it was from in his specific thing or whatever, magnetic declination isn't a certain thing in Australia. It is all over the place. And my next school in the globe specifically will be about magnetic declination, and it absolutely destroys the globe. It's complete nonsense. But there is like a concentrated area if he's saying the dew is in Perth or something where it says zero declination. So I don't know. I don't know anything about where he claimed he did anything. I heard he used a phone compass and picked one place out in Arizona. I don't know. Magnetic declination is bad news for the globe. In reality, what it turns out is the compass points north on a plane Earth, and it works everywhere. That's what happens. That's how you know where south is.
I never even thought about the time zone thing. Like when you've been talking about that recently, it makes complete sense because the cutoff zone of the time zone is a physical location that should be a straight line on a globe in relation to the sun's position. So that would necessitate we have 24 time zones. So when we got like 19 in north, 32 in the south, a little bit weird.
Yeah, what a coincidence. And then when magnetic declination, dude, magnetic declination is like, it shows that they can't just both be coincidence. I mean, you can make yourself believe anything, but when you look at it, dude, what happened was they went in the south and they assumed a globe and they started navigating and they used their compass and they were consistently off. They're like in the middle of nowhere. These are like military. It's like the British government, the U.S. government. And so they literally went on magnetic declination like charter trips where they're like fixing the graphs, the charts. They're like, okay, we're off this much based on the globe, off this much. And that's how they came up with magnetic declination charts, was to fix the globe. And that's why it's so crazy in the south. And then it would still not work once you get past 60th south latitude. Right there, you'd still be able to tell even with their corrections. And conveniently, you can't go past 60th south latitude. I mean, it's not a coincidence, but I'll cover it next week. But
what do they say? Why do they say it's different from the top? Because the top, like you've shown, it's very accurate because it's strong. You're close to the north, the center. What do they have for an explanation of why it's so weird in the South?
Yeah. So they don't really have an explanation other than they say the magnetic poles just move around. What's so funny is they should be symmetrical in the North and the South.
Yeah,
and it's not completely accurate in the North either, because when you make a flat Earth a globe, you have to stretch the North out just a little bit. It's going to be a little bit bigger. And then you're going to have to compress the South. So the South is bigger on the flat Earth, North is smaller. So what they've done is fix with the magnetic declination, but it's much closer in the North on a flat Earth. Then you get to the South, it's way different. And that's why it's way different in the South. It's not just another coincidence. And it's really pretty impressive, because what that means is when people navigate, they're like, oh, this should be 180 degrees south, but let me look at magnetic declination. It says add 15 degrees. So now we're 195. So they're going to start navigating, not noticing that they're not on a ball. They're going to think, they just say the magnetic poles move around. But even if they're moving around, they should move around together, right? They should be symmetrical. So it should be the same but it's not. It's
because it's the dipole, right?
Yeah. It's hilarious because it's a dynamo symmetrical globe magnetic field allegedly, but it doesn't work. It's very crazy, bro, because it worked very well. That gets everyone navigating in a plane or a ship, right? Or they wouldn't know. They'll fall for the trick. Using magnetic declination correction, they'll fall for the trick. You combine that with time zones and then fixing the Google Maps a little bit. Boom. You turn a flat Earth into a globe. It's pretty brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time zones are way different down there.
Yeah. So same with the magnetic declination, man. And then no undersea cables from continent to continent, no real shipping routes. Yeah, it's just great. The world's I'll stop it. The world's sailing record, the same boats in the North and the South compared to each other. The South is 200 miles less a day for the world record in the South for the same boat in the North. It's because they're actually traveling way further, and so they're like, think they travel much less. So they're like, we must be going really slow. No, you're just traveling way further in the South. But yeah, it's really crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, it's really obvious what you understand.
Depends on what part you're talking.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're saying that's an excuse, but you don't. It was -1.
Oh, gotcha.
-1.
Highest levels of academia admit they can't explain the southern magnetic declination. So it seems you should explain it to us since you know it now.
Yeah, let's hear it. Magnetic declination is -1 from Australia. So I did adjust for that. You know what -1 means? It's negligible. You take -1 off the degrees on the compass.
You adjusted for something negligible? Wow. No, it wasn't appeal to authority. I'm saying that in the hostile witnesses, there is no accurate way. So if you want to explain how you map out the magnetic declination in the southern hemisphere, I'm all ears. I don't care about authority.
Hold on. So magnetic declination can be measured. Whether it's true or not, and I actually don't think this is true, that it can't be explained is a different story, but it certainly can be measured.
Oh, so you don't know, you just don't think it's true. Well, okay, we can move on.
You didn't cite any sources, you didn't cite any academics.
What about, does Harvard work?
I mean, like, yeah, you can bring something up, that'd be cool. But yeah, let's talk about gravity. I'd like to hear you guys.
Let's talk about gravity.
He got so nervous, he knows I got the source. He's like, no. That's funny. He's like, we don't have to keep talking about it. We just kind of talked about it, but yeah. Like, the way it was measured was people navigating the South. It didn't work on the globe assumption. They had to update because the compass wasn't taking them where the globe said it should. That's literally how they, quote unquote, measured it.
For general relativity, or
let's do that.
Yeah, so this is what's so funny. When you said that like relativity works so well, that's just patently false, right? So it doesn't work on the quantum or cosmological scale. Do you want to pick one of the scales that we can destroy?
I mean, nobody's claiming it works on the quantum scale. That's fine. I'm talking about the macroscopic scale, the scale that we can measure in a laboratory here on Earth.
You literally invoked quantum scale in your opening.
That doesn't have anything to do with gravity. I was talking about
you said it was the most accurate model that we have. So
yes,
you're
quantum
saying that it's most accurate.
Quantum electrodynamics is the most quantum dynamics is the most accurate model that science has ever produced. Yes.
Yeah, electrodynamics, right? So it uses
quantum electrodynamics. Yes.
That's right. So it uses electromagnetism. It has nothing to do with gravity. Gravity's
no, but it has to do with special relativity, by the way.
You want me to pull up, since you have a PhD and you're claiming that you fully understand the quantum relationship of gravity, how about I pull up a source?
I didn't make that claim.
Well, you said it worked perfect in your opener.
Yeah.
It works perfectly in all the regimes in which it applies. Nobody is seriously claiming that we have a theory of quantum gravity. And if you think that that's what I'm saying, you're strong me.
Actually, some are, but of course, it's electromagnetic nature of gravity. Then they draw an equivalence. But they draw an equivalence between Constantine Mice. He actually draws.
Yeah, I know the paper.
Yeah, and let me guess.
It's garbage, by the way.
Yeah, he's garbage. So you just
by the way, the only way he knows the paper, guaranteed, is because he watched McToon.
Oh yeah. Oh dude. No, me and Derek talked after. These guys for sure had a little powwow with McToon to talk about the points that we were going to talk about. They you can tell they're trying to steamroll us here, and they're trying to keep in their topics and not let us bring up our topics and their problems and their models. So I'm sure that was the whole goal when they went into this. Oh, you're going to say this about refraction, you're going to say this about magnetic declination. You're going to try to steamroll them. You're going to try to keep them on proving the flat Earth, not the globe. I'm sure.
Although a very prominent and accredited author, that's paper somewhat obscure. It's been like shrouded in academic preference. So like, I know for a fact he didn't just coincidentally read it and then instantly know what I was talking about. McToon showed, because I found it, started showing people a couple weeks before this. So McToon told him, or he saw the video where McToon covered it.
Oh yeah, dude, McToon is all over me, you, and Derek right now. He's like obsessed with all of us. So yeah, I'm sure when he heard that we were all jumping into a debate, of course Papa McToon jumped in there and gave them.
Even special relativity doesn't work on the quantum scale, by the way, and that's not gravity. It's distinctly not gravity. It's actually not at all gravity. It can't account for when gravity's present, so it's really goofy he would bring that up. But
yeah, I don't think he understands relativity, to be honest. But sometimes when I hear him talk about it, he'll talk about like length contraction. So that's what's funny when you get to a point where you know somebody understands this specific terminology that you're talking about and the value of the points that you're making in context of those principles and things like that. That's when the conversations get really interesting and when people get really mad, like Blitz. That's why I don't think he'll ever hop on.
No, because I can hold his feet to the fire about his baseless claims about stuff like relativity.
Yeah, exactly.
He does not want to talk to me about relativity or quantum mechanics. I don't care how many degrees he has, because he started his opener by saying relativity is like the most verified thing ever. So it's like, whew, buddy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Rough place to start.
You committed a
By the way, everyone should go at him when he has TikTok or whatever. Be like, debate Witsit on In the Field. Go on In the Field.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll happen.
Everybody should do that.
A genetic fallacy.
No.
So
I didn't even know who he was.
This random anti-flat earther on TikTok, who appeals to credentials and scientists all the time. As soon as a guy who is the lead scientist at the Nuclear Physics of Institute seems to disagree with him, he doesn't. Now all of a sudden credentials don't matter.
Equations 18, 19, and 20 are false. Yes, equations 18, 19. Yes, equations 18, 19, and 20 are false.
How so?
They don't agree with experimental data.
What experimental data? It uses vacuum electromagnetic energy from energy
density. Do you know what
density.
equations 18, 19, and 20 are?
It says it uses vacuum energy density from electromagnetic vacuum. Does that not exist?
Electromagnetic vacuum energy is fine. Do you know what equations 18, 19, and 20 are?
Off the top of my head, do I know what the equations are?
So
this is how I know he just recently read it to prep for the debate because someone gave it to him.
He knows the exact equations that he's going to disagree with. Dude, I guarantee the same day, right before the debate, they jumped on and talked about it.
Guarantee. No, he has the paper pulled up. He's looking at it. Like someone sent it to him.
Yeah, he had it ready. Yeah. He probably had a whole list, like with paragraphs for them to read. Yeah. They put the whole.
I'll go look at it in a second what 18, 19, 20 is, but he asserts a mass charge equivalence that can be debunked in a fundamental physical constant of elementary charge, and he can just say nuh-uh, but I mean, good luck.
So equations 18, 19, or 20 are a relationship between the mass of fundamental particles and the so-called magneton of these fundamental particles, and the Bohr magneton. And there is some integer relationship that's claimed to relate these two things. So you have the mass of the fundamental particle is an integer multiple of a certain fundamental quantity that he claims that we can measure. Fine, we can measure the fundamental quantity. The question is it true that the mass of these fundamental particles are an integer multiple of this particular quantity? The answer is no. The answer is experimentally no. His
what fundamental particles?
All of them.
See, so now I know you don't understand the paper.
No, I mean, he gives a table. He explicitly gives a table. Even for a muon, he's off by more than 0.5%. And he doesn't even account for the mass of neutrinos.
More than 0.5%. Okay, so this is what this dude is one of those guys that's intentionally dishonest. I don't want to divert too much. I'm just like, he does give a chart of the particles and he shows and applies it to their quantum mechanic particles, right? And he's a quantum physicist, well accredited, and he's like explaining the discrepancies that are very small, and he actually addresses them specifically to show it would be relative to the specific energy density and that we actually have certain leaps of logic and guesses we make to get those values. He addresses all this. He just takes his own chart that he gets out in front of and says there's a couple of discrepancies here. He says he was off by 0.5% with the muon that we claim lasts like 2 microseconds, which is like an insanely short period of time. But anyway, let's move on.
Because neutrinos have mass.
That would be more for us to talk about, not me bore everyone with.
Smaller than the mass of an electron, which is required. They have to be bigger than the mass of an electron in his model. So
okay.
like it's patently false. This
no, you don't even the mass of the electron, dude. You don't want to get into the mass of the electron. I promise.
Wait a minute, hold on. So can you acknowledge anything I just said?
You just you're reifying made up.
I'm not reifying anything. I'm debunking the paper that you brought up.
You're so this just so the audience knows what the paper is, right? So it's a guy proposing a gravity in an attempt to address all the cosmological and quantum discrepancies with the current gravity, theory, and it's completely wrong in every aspect. He said it was 99% accurate. Actually, in 33, we found out it was 99% inaccurate. Looking at the galaxy clusters in 1933. Fritz Sawicki found out that we only had 1% of the mass predicted by gravity, so it's 99% inaccurate. But anyway, he's addressing the actual issues with gravity in the current paradigm, and he's explaining that, look, you can actually show using the energy density of an electromagnetic vacuum, which relativity does not even address. Then you can actually use that, show that gravity is not a universal constant, it's intrinsically electromagnetic in nature, and then you can draw an equivalence between Coulomb's law and what we call gravity, and he shows exactly how it works, and it is testable by using the energy density of each position in a vacuum and then testing it for the gravitational results. So have you actually tested it that way, or have you just unified particles?
You can't directly measure the vacuum energy. It's not something we can do.
Okay, so we can't detect electromagnetic fluctuations in a vacuum?
No, we cannot empirically, experimentally measure directly the electromagnetic vacuum energy. We can only do it via particle collisions, which, again, I guess you're assuming don't exist.
Okay, well, just
oh man, I just
what you call particles, yeah, and assuming the materialistic nature of them, of course, it doesn't exist. Of course, QFT has now already inched their way to saying it's actually background fields with oscillations and excitations. We just call them particles. We just call them particles for intents and purposes. You guys are just inching towards an ether. But this is the truth that I'm trying to point out. Can you acknowledge that there's a huge gap in what gravity claims to be and experimental evidence from both the quantum and cosmological scale, and that people at the top tier of your paradigm are currently trying to fix those problems, and one of the primary fixes that are being proposed is unifying it under electromagnetism?
Yes and no. Yes, there are problems at the quantum scale with gravity. This is a problem known as the quantum gravity problem. Yes, there are problems at the cosmological scale, but not the ones that you brought up. There are problems involving basically dark energy. The leading theory is not unifying under electromagnetism. That's patently false. And for what it's worth, I work with these people. I know who they are. They're not doing this.
What's the leading unified field theory then?
So string theory is the one that people really, really like. I don't really like it, but that's the one people do like. People also like loop quantum gravity. I think that's pretty good.
That's electromagnetic.
Really like it. Loop quantum gravity is not electromagnetic.
Yes, it is. It says that there's a background medium that interchanges all.
It's SU2 gauge theory. It's specifically non-electromagnetic.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you think that the attempts to unify under electromagnetism are.
It says there's a background medium and it invokes the fundamental physical constant of elementary charge. So, I mean, enlighten me how that's not electromagnetic.
Less efficient.
It specifically doesn't unify it as, say, like an electromagnetic push gravity, like where everything is electromagnetic. But no.
Then string theory and loop quantum theory.
I didn't. So the attempts to unify under electromagnetism are just like patently false. String theory and the quantum theory are just hard to test. Now, I don't think that those are true either. I don't think anybody has a good solution to quantum gravity right now. But this guy, this Konstantin Mice, certainly doesn't. By the way, did you look at his references? Because he cites himself in half of his references.
Okay, he has tons of other references.
Yes. Right. But for the equations that matter, and again, this is how I know that you didn't actually look at this thing in any sort of detail. Because for the equations that matter, he either doesn't defend them, he just says them, doesn't derive them, he just says them, or he cites himself for them. Like,
okay, this is what's so funny. This is what's so funny. You just admitted that the leading ones don't work and you can't even test them. And then your primary critique when I brought up the actual electromagnetic density and the vacuum energy density, you said, "Oh, we can't directly test it." So it's so funny that you get to pick and choose. The truth is, you have a religious bias toward relativity, which has been.
Is this a red herring? I'm literally not defending those.
No, I'm addressing specifically what you're saying, right? Like you're saying that you know this one's wrong and it's patently experimentally false, but then you're claiming, oh well, we can't directly test it. But then you bring up the two other leading theories claiming that you can't directly test it. And let's just make sure the audience doesn't get lost and we understand what's going on. You just now claimed that I was wrong about what I said about how gravity's wrong for the cosmological scale. So can you please enlighten me how I'm wrong and you weren't off by only observing 1% of the mass predicted by gravity in 1933, and that was the initial discovery.
Yeah, so dark matter has been like indirectly observed. So what is it? I don't know, but we don't
know how do you indirectly observe something?
Yeah, how did you do that?
So if you assume the current gravity model and then you see the discrepancy and isolate how much it's off, you can claim to indirectly observe something you can't define or prove.
Sure. I mentioned in my opener that science is built as a scaffold, right? Like we build off of previously known experimental works. So like, for example, in 1964, we directly detected in a laboratory on Earth without going to space.
I feel bad even like watching it, making everyone watch it again with us. I didn't realize that we talked that much. Just me
on Earth in a laboratory. And actually, I was looking this up earlier because I was curious how technology is improved. We can now detect gravitational redshift.
I just like when you're having this type of a conversation, like when do I jump in? You know what I'm saying? Like how do I jump into this conversation? So I was just like, I'm gonna let him go at it until I'm sure. I was kind of waiting for Jaren to do something, but I love it.
I feel bad.
Awesome. The conversation's awesome though. It was necessary. And it might be the only conversation you get with Blitz. That's exactly why I let it go like this. I was like, yeah, this is cool because this was necessary. Like Blitz doesn't run into enough people that can actually refute his points like probably us in this room and maybe a handful of others.
I mean, do you think we should skip where it's me and him talking?
If you want, we really start talking about flat Earth in a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, I dropped the link in the chat.
Oh, there. Go to when he starts putting the timers on. Okay. Yeah, when the first timer comes on, it should be. Yeah, right.
I've got a clock on the screen.
I don't want to pick a specific person, but I would like to know what type of refraction is happening when we are seeing observations from over 273 miles away. Also, what type of refraction is happening when we're seeing mirror flashes from a 0-foot observer height over 40 miles. What type of refraction is happening with the Chicago skyline that is being refracted up into the horizon, supposedly on your guys' model. I just want to know how light, when you get into a denser medium, light bends down. So if we're looking over long distances and we're looking through a medium, the atmosphere, and it's most densest at the surface, we should all be able to tell from Derik's opener that light would bend down, not up. So I would like to hear specifically what type of refraction is happening when we're seeing these observations, these long distance photography observations from hundreds of miles all the time, as well as people from Chicago are seeing the Chicago skyline 4 or 5 times a week from 50 miles away. What type of refraction would you guys invoke?
So let me just address one point and then anyone else can jump in.
We have a minute to go.
you answered your own question in your statement. The denser air, right, refracts light downward, right? You both said that, and Derek said that in his opener. And you showed a video of the sugar in the tank bending light downward. Now, you're confusing bending light downward with objects moving downward, but bending light downward actually makes the object appear higher.
This isn't actually always true. I don't know if you want to hear it out longer before we talk about it.
Is why, and yes, you can shake your head, however. Okay?
It has to
It's
be above
very
your head
simple.
to begin with.
Okay? An object with the light bending downward from where it is actually appears to make the object higher because the light is entering your eye on a downward angle.
Do you
So
know
the light,
No, he keeps
that's literally how refraction works. You can't really, I mean, light coming in, your
Darren's a good moderator, man.
eye sees it
Yeah.
going that way up. So it raises the object up. Downward refraction raises an object up. That is just how it works.
Okay, so you got a minute to retort. Oops.
Do you know how eyesight works?
Yes,
Do you
I
know
just
like what you're
explained it to
actually seeing is the light reflecting off of a distant object? So the light from the sun has to come down at an angle, right? As it's coming down to reflect off of the object that you're looking at, it's moving through a more dense medium as it comes, boom, 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 and then it hits that object and it reflects over to you, which is what you see.
Right.
On its
Also-
way
Okay.
over to you, it's bending downward. You cannot pretend like light bending downward somehow makes it appear higher in the air. Light, as it travels, moving downward, is going to appear lower. I don't know where this
Hold on,
idea.
it'll-
In order for
wait,
it to
keep
bend
going.
downward
Sorry,
into your
20
eye,
seconds.
it would have to be up above your eyesight to drop down into your level of eyesight.
Let me say
As-
one thing.
Wait,
Let me
what
say
about
one
this?
thing.
Did you not-
Hold on, Globey. Now your time. Now your time, buddy. So also, I wanted to suggest that Globey is saying that downward refraction refracts things up. So
Upwards.
this dude is literally contradicting himself in the exact same sentence. How is downward refraction
Okay,
refracting
time.
things up?
Time.
Yeah,
So
so-
they've got a minute to retort. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I can answer that. I actually recently mentioned this in one of my videos responding to Nathan Oakley, but this is directly from the University of British Columbia. So during something called a temperature inversion, I think we should all be aware of what that is, right? We have a layer of cold air, and then we have the inversion layer above it, another layer of cold air after the inversion layer, which is going to be hot. And again, like I said, this is directly from University of British Columbia. Light bends down towards the denser air, but because our eyes assume the light we see travels straight, the object we are seeing appears higher than it actually is. Again, just like Globey showed, if you draw that bent line, the way that we're seeing it, we just draw a tangent off of that. So that would be the exact answer. Light bending
Yeah,
towards-
make sure you don't give any context. So the truth is, it isn't like an objective either way. It isn't like light bends up or light bends down. In reality, it's relative to many things. It's the actual incident angle relative to the observer height and the conditions overall, like the overall conditions of the atmos, which would cause different types of lensing, and then the actual position of the object that you're viewing, and then where that relative incident angle is relative to the observer. And this can cause both up and down. It can even displace laterally. So the point is, it's not entirely untrue that you can have light bend down and cause things to go up. I mean, the argument that your eyes assume something is so stupid, but it can cause different things. But what they do is they just claim it does one thing, and then they apply it to everything that exists, and that is not true. That is not true. So it's not actually either or definitively. And I certainly know that they're going to pretend that like I'm stupid for saying that or something, but it's just a fact and it can be proven. And I've actually like meant to be already doing stuff to show it, but we'll have to work on it. But it's very funny that people, because like we know why they do it.
Yeah. When they start showing their drawings, I had a debate with McToon post this debate. It was like a week or two after, where I got him to draw a picture, and I'll have to show you what McToon drawed. So let's.
Okay. I've seen him have some little Batman picture before. It's funny.
the surface makes objects appear higher.
You can't see curved light, right? The light enters your eye straight, no matter where it's coming from, and hits the back of the retina. It's coming into your eye straight. So it assumes the object it's seeing from that light is straight ahead of it. Doesn't matter where the light's coming in. So if that light is bending down towards you, where it's entering your eye, you're going to draw a straight line from that, and that's where the object appears.
So a distant object that's the same eye level as you, light hits that object, bends downward, and makes that object appear.
Yes.
That's what they're saying.
Correct.
That's literally how eyes work. Can I get a picture?
Yep.
Can you reference something that says otherwise?
Well, you guys are up next, so go ahead if you want to ask a question or you want to keep going on this.
And then this is what's so funny. They're having to say then that it only ever looms. Like that when you go out, everything always looms on the Earth because the denser medium's always below you. But that's not even what it's admittedly there's all kinds of effects that happen with the atmos and quote unquote refraction, right? So it's just an anti-flat Earth
it's the
thing.
same one every single day. With it.
Yeah.
When you see too far, it's the exact same one every single.
No, but they're saying like even when you don't see too far, because if there's a dense medium at the bottom, then everything's constantly being loomed up. Because just objectively, that when the light goes towards the more dense medium, when it always does, this is what they're claiming, then it looms up, which means that things are always looming up. There can be no sinking. There can be no, which we know isn't true. So it's just an anti-flat Earth talking point, which is goofy.
Which is all we're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely won't get any specific variables or anything and say like, hey, can I go measure the variables and go see what the refraction is to see if we see too far? You'll get crickets. I've gotten crickets for 3 years.
The light's
Yeah,
not
instead of
making
color
it to
changes
your
a lot.
eye. It's not making it to your eye. You know what I mean?
Say
Like, if
again?
it's being bent. If the light's not making it to your eye, it's not making it to your eye. Eventually, light being bent downwards gonna hit the ground.
That's actually
So
another
it's-
great point. Yeah, they don't like to talk about that either.
Yeah.
That's why they draw all their pictures, but we'll talk about it.
Hopefully everything's still good for you guys.
Yep.
All knows you put a pencil in water and it displaces down towards the more dense medium. It doesn't displace up.
Yeah, they're literally saying that it goes down, but it's seen up. It literally doesn't make sense what you guys
Okay,
said.
ignore the mess that is my house. Okay, let's say this is a building. This is
Just ignore the pencil, man. Ignore the pencil, right? So there's different. It's based on incident angle.
light's bending down to you, right?
Well, if that observer was farther back
You're looking at
and that light angle continued at the same downward way it is right now, it wouldn't make it to that observer's eye to be seen. They wouldn't see it.
So I made Nick draw it on a
Yeah, wait. Do you see what he's doing? Well, they'll say that it's exponential. They'll say that it's exponential.
I made him draw it on a circle surface, bro, and then he drew that line. He just drew it to follow the exact curvature of the Earth to go to the person. Like,
that is hilarious.
Dying, bro. It is too funny, dude. These dudes are complete clowns.
It is really funny. It's really funny. And then what I told you about the infrared thing is such a death blow to them. It's such a death blow to them. If you
Oh, dude, that observation's nuts. They're losing it over that. Like saying it's clouds and stuff. Dude, anybody that's older than 4 years old, not clouds. Like, it's so remedial, bro.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like clouds because the clouds are moving the opposite direction above it. They're static, solid, and infrared with the sun behind it. But what's so funny though is like in general infrared, right? So infrared based on its wavelength, it's less affected by refraction. So if I pull out infrared and supposedly we're seeing further on the Earth than the globe predicts because things are being loomed up because of refraction, and I pull out infrared with less refraction, I should see not as far. I shouldn't be able to see as far because now there's less refraction. So I should see more of objects blocked, right? And I should not be able to see as far. But when you pull out infrared, the exact opposite happens. I've done it myself in real life multiple times. You pull out infrared, you can see further. You can even see more. You can make out more of the bottom of objects. That's because, of course, the bottom of the atmos is the most thick, which is the only reason that you actually see them disappear from the bottom up. And then, of course, it's closer to your line of sight as well. So it's going to verge towards your line of sight and then have more obstruction to block it. So when you pull out infrared and you see further and you see more of the bottom of the object, that directly refutes their claim that refraction makes us see further than the globe allows. It is really been sitting right in front of us the whole time. Just go out and make lots of infrared observations side by side. You can take an infrared laser, a blue laser, pull them back right on top of like a frozen lake or whatever, and you pull it back. Then you should see one of the lasers disappear before the other one based on their claim. You can. These are actual definitive tests that will debunk their whole refraction narrative.
Yeah, I think everybody's been going the wrong direction with the P1000 and the P900. If we would have known about this, dude, had like 1,000, 1,200 people around the entire U.S. and the world in these types of observations, bro, we'd be way further ahead. That observation is crazy. From a 100-foot observer height, 600 miles, dude, it's absolutely nuts. It can only happen on a level plane. That's why it's super important. We just keep shoving that one down their throat forever.
They're saying, listen, to me at 1.5 is too much. You have to get over it.
Even if you believe the Earth is like a bigger globe, it doesn't work because the radius value of the Earth is super important for all of the science, for the rotational speed, for the orbital speed, for all of these different things. So the fact that we can discredit the radius value of the Earth discredits the entire globe model completely.
Yeah, absolutely. What's crazy, it's like, I have to say that even that observation for me, I'm like, what's going on? That's insane, right? And so I was looking at it like, is it the land mass? It looks like it is land for sure that blocks the sun. I'm wondering how much of those attachments you could put on like a P1000, because that would be very interesting. If you could get the same spectrum and stuff on like the 125X, I mean, it could be better, honestly, right? You may have just found a cheaper camera, so it's really the attachment. So if we can try to get the best infrared cameras ever all over the place, and that's an affordable setup.
A P900 or P1000, does the lens actually detach?
It doesn't, no.
No. Then yeah, you wouldn't be able to do any of it, I don't think.
Does the lens
Unless
do
you're
what?
able to put a lens on top of a lens. So with the DSLR camera, you can detach it, put different lenses on it, right? You can just like put macro.
Yeah. You have to directly modify.
Yeah. You'd probably you'd have to do something crazy, but that would be nuts.
Well, yeah, I mean, I had an infrared P900.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to send it back to the guy that let me borrow it. Yeah, it sucks because I was still on tour. I didn't make enough observations, but I got like the 7 states in East Tennessee. I've taped that in infrared. I put the water the camera right above the water with the regular camera and the P900 at Kennedy Space Center, actually right across Cape Canaveral where you watch the rocket launch. During the daytime, zoomed in, and with infrared, you could see right across the lake. You could see more and more at the bottom. So, yeah, we have to just all work together. I think infrared is clearly what like tactical observations in infrared. I think we're supposed to have like a high altitude balloon shot soon in infrared as well, which is going to be very interesting. So.
Yeah, I've been seeing that for a while.
Infrared is bad news for the globe. All right, let's continue.
Building. 2 light rays come off, bends down to your eyes. So what does it look like? Well, it's entering your eyes at an angle, so it'll look like it came from higher. That's all Globy's saying.
Well, it's patently false. You can demonstrate without little cartoons.
This is just optics. This is just standard optics. Okay.
Demonstrate it then.
My guy, you can put a pencil in water and watch
Standard
it be the denser medium below the pencil. The pencil will displace down towards the denser medium. Your cartoons don't change physical demonstrations.
Okay, Globe side, Globe, you can choose who you want to ask a question.
Can you show us a physical demonstration?
They've got a minute. Go ahead, Globe.
Not with my hands, no. Like I don't have experimental apparatus on me. I'm sorry.
Globe, go ahead.
They just don't respond at all.
Nothing. Yeah. Look, did you see Globy while we were saying all that? He's literally looking off into space, like probably looking at his cat or something. They're not listening. They don't like to hear these refutations this concise. They want to go on to TikTok and find the dumbest flat earthers possible. They don't want to. They did not want to do this.
Blitz heard it.
You can choose who you want to ask a question.
Can you show us a physical demonstration? It's the denser medium. Your cartoons don't change physical demonstrations.
Okay, Globe side, Globe, you can choose who you want to ask.
He just put this. Just chooses to not respond.
Yeah.
Question, you show us a physical demonstration?
What is he gonna say?
Not with my hands, no. Like
something honest. I don't know.
I don't have experimental apparatus on me. I'm sorry.
Globe, go ahead.
What are we doing?
So I mean, maybe I just shouldn't harp on this, but like, how do you explain gravitational redshifts in a laboratory?
That's your entire question. That's your whole
I mean, I don't know. Do you guys have any other questions you want to ask?
Gravitational redshift.
Nothing really in specific, no. I think that's probably a good topic to touch on.
Also, the Sagnac effect. That'd be.
Let's talk about the Sagnac
Let's talk about
effect.
that. Let's talk about the Sagnac.
I like that.
Okay.
Yeah. So, what's the explanation? I mean, like, whether you think it's an ether, whether you think the Earth is that, whether you think there's an ether, or whether you have special relativity. In both cases, it's just motion. So.
So I don't think that the globe side realizes that the Sagnac effect is in direct controversy to the special relativity of light. The special relativity theory literally states that the observer's velocity is not added to the c constant, the speed of light. So if we're picking up a different speed based on turning a table, turning an apparatus is creating a friendship in the apparatus that cannot be explained through special relativity, and it directly contradicts it. As well, if you were to invoke the Sagnac effect into like ring laser gyros, which use GPS, which assume the globe and assume all sorts of other things, you should be able to take that ring laser gyro to different latitudes on the globe and pick up a different friend shift. We do not see this because the Earth is not spinning 1,000 miles per hour.
We still have 20 seconds. And so as far as the Sagnac effect goes, you would also be able to pick up the Earth's rotation around the sun. It wouldn't only be limited to the rotation of the Earth. It would also be the orbit. But to add to what Kaleb was saying, if the turntable is spinning and the light goes in one direction and they look in the other direction, if you go lower on our latitude line, the Earth would move slower and it would pick up a different friend shift because the Earth is moving slower. The 15 degree per hour doesn't work when the friend shift is based off of the speed of the light.
Go ahead, you got a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, so like, first, the Sagnac effect doesn't disprove special relativity. It is consistent with special relativity. Your understanding of it is flawed. It's not that the light speed is added, it's that the light travels a shorter distance. But that's neither here nor there. We can even reject special relativity if you want, and we can assume the ether theory for the Sagnac effect. You still see relative motion of the Earth through the ether. And what that means is that the Earth is moving. That's like what...
Bruh. This dude never looked into flat Earth.
Dude, the thing is, he knows all of these terms. He knows about the Michelson-Morley experiment. He knows about the Sagnac effect. It's like, when you know about the Michelson-Gale-Pearson experiment, the Michelson-Morley experiment, the Sagnac effect, and you combine the value of all of those and the data from all of them as well, like it literally, I was trying to do it, like when I was reading through some physics books, I was like trying to be like, how do they literally just say, no, this works. That's it. They have nothing. I've heard
there's no response.
Yeah, I've heard no response to explaining the Sagnac effect and then the Michelson-Morley experiment, as well as like how there's multiple ether models. When you put it all into context in front of somebody, they're just like, no, special relativity, it's somewhere in there, it works.
Well, what's so interesting to me, though, is like Derik very clearly just dunked on him, though.
Yeah.
So Derik explained that right then. He dunked on him, and he just like proceeds to pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time you make a good
every
point to
time.
them.
Is that the tactic? It's like pretty easy to never lose a debate if you just pretend that the point didn't happen. I don't.
Right.
That is the globe people in a nutshell. Pretend like
crazy.
what you just said wasn't what you just
Dude,
said.
you got to start doing some more TikTok debates, bro. You will laugh so hard, bro.
Yeah,
this is like
schedule.
light work. Yeah, exactly. Like you can do that. This is like light work compared to how they usually act, bro. They're actually behaving well on TikTok, bro. These dudes are the top of the top on TikTok, and they are atrocious at debating. And
that's what I'm saying. I'm not. These people don't deserve like. They don't get to flex on me or something, right? Like they would never talk over me in real life. Like these dudes right here, dude, they're never gonna like flex on me in real life. Never. So you get on TikTok on their channel, they get to act like they can run all over you, interrupt you. I mean, I don't know if that's what they do, but I won't be doing that.
Blitz probably wouldn't do that. If you joined his live, Blitz is usually pretty level-headed. Now, I can't say the same if it were you to join. When you join, like when he gets somebody that can actually refute and make him talk through his points and make him try to explain how photons are real and atoms. Like when you get somebody that actually knows his model and knows how to like where the holes are in it, that's when he does usually get a little upset. So maybe it might be worth your time to join a live sometime. But yeah.
But I mean, I've talked to these two guys right here on TikTok once.
Mm-hmm.
And that was on Troubling Tribune channel, and it was just like, if you're like that on Troubling Tribune, then it's like, imagine I won't be on your channel, but those two will stalk where we go, I'm sure. So,
They do. All three of these guys stalk. Globey's the worst. I'm not sure Blitz does too much stalking, but Globey definitely does.
Both of them, the top and bottom dude, they were in there so quick, dude. It's like. People were sending me the video, and then I DM'd dude on TikTok, and I'm like pointing out how everything he said was just so ridiculous. He's like, there's no magnetic declination. You just go, don't have to worry about it. Bearing stays the same. Your bearing stays. I'm like, what? Dude. The magnetic declination changes as you go. You have to adjust your compass, though.
I over time, over like the last year, I've caught them like 4 times. I'd say 4 times where they were just like straight up. Blatantly lying, and I didn't have enough information on the topic. That's exactly what they're hoping. They're hoping that they can throw out something, you don't understand it enough, or you're not informed on it enough, so you'll like kind of just trust them. But it's like at its face, logically a lie. Like
the truth is they don't understand it. Like when he came on there and he said that, he didn't understand it. So technically, that's not lying. That it's void of intention. Do not attribute malice to that which can be adequately explained with ignorance. But I will say, of course, that's probably a vicious combination of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Whether you think it changes or not, like we observe motion, and the burden is now on you to explain how that works. Because I've given a consistent model that makes it work. Both the ether, both an ether with a spinning sphere and an ether, and special relativity both explain this phenomenon. How does it work on a flat Earth?
The sky moves, bruh.
You still have 30 seconds. Do you want to
Sure. The moving it wouldn't change it because the Earth is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. You're talking about linear velocity, which that experiment is not measuring linear velocity. It's measuring rotational velocity. So you can shake your head, yes, but linear we don't measure rotations in linear velocity. So
you don't measure.
Oh wait, is the Earth's orbit not elliptical?
I mean, Glove 5, you have a minute.
I just jump in and act like I know what's going on. What a loser.
Well, I just want to say, I'll take like 20 seconds. The Earth's
orbit
is
right on
elliptical.
topic.
It's
you
not
do
in a straight line.
Yeah,
and of course, the seismic effect was really tested with Michelson, Gale-Pearson, and Michelson came out and said this verifies the ether and it perfectly matches the sidereal protection within 98%. And we know we have a sidereal rotation even on a stationary Earth around the Earth. So the real question is, how come we didn't detect the orbit, but we detected the alleged rotation? And again, I just explained that you can't use linear velocity as a cop out because it's actually elliptical, and they tested it out the entire year, and the Dayton Miller repeated it.
As well as the globe.
Oh my God, I did just absolutely dunk on them though. So just Dayton Miller tested it throughout the year.
Yeah, as well as Sagnac himself said it was a vortex in the ether.
Yeah. Like Blitz doesn't seem to understand that if the Earth's not moving, but the whole cosmos is moving, or the vortex within the ether and the cosmos, either or, that you're going to detect this ideal rotation. On a stationary Earth, there's still rotation.
Yeah.
What the?
Me and Derek have thoroughly explained. I think we even go into Mach's. Obviously, we're going to go into Mach's principle a little bit here, but in depth, me and him have gone over. And like we've said before, and I'm sure you are under this principle as well, that every time a glober goes to sleep, he resets. He resets his
Yeah,
training.
it's crazy.
He heard nothing. He acts like he never learned anything, never had a conversation with you before. You got to repeat it all again and re-explain it to him. This is their tactic, bro. They know.
That's weird because if a Glober corrects me, then I'm happily like I will no longer be making that argument. If I hear another flat earther make it, I will actually correct them. I say the Glober stillman argument more accurately and more often than the ballers do, right? Like I'm like I'm like, well, they'll say this. Well, they'll say this. Well, this is what they say. And because that's the best I've heard them say, and I want the flat earthers to know the full context and make the proper argument and omit the ones that are no good. But if you don't do that, then you're just, well, you admitted I guess they admitted that they don't care. So what are you going to do?
Yeah. They've admitted that it's all about entertainment for them, that they only do this for fun and to obviously keep the flat earth from going mainstream. But it's just crazy that they would even say that, like when so much at stake here, like there's so much for us to gain from just looking into the science. Like even if you think the earth is a globe, we have a lot to gain just by asking for transparency in our government and our science and make sure that we get the technology that our tax dollars fund.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much within the globe paradigm that's unanswered.
Yeah.
That's what's weird. You know, it's like mass attracts mass. No, not your paradigm doesn't say that. Relativity is perfect. No, your paradigm doesn't say that. It's like you need answers
you do
too,
understand
bro.
that every time your theory doesn't work, your people just make up a new theory to try to explain why it doesn't work, right? Globers don't get how ridiculous this is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true that. Plain Life, thank you for the $25 super chat. They just continually shift the goalposts and make up a new theory when the previous one doesn't work. Yeah, it's pretty insane that they don't understand that part of it, to be honest.
Or they just like add some math onto it and are like, no, it actually does work here.
Yeah, it's weird. Weird. Anyway.
Calm down. Impulse control, Globey. And literally these guys are assuming that the 15 degree that is picked up it just has to be the spin of this water ball that's spinning through space. When we have things like Mach's principle, there could be a translation of motion down to the ground through a sidereal rotation of the sky. Mach literally, Einstein admitted this in a letter to Ernst Mach in 1913. All of these guys have seen this information. They just act like they haven't.
No, let's talk about Mach's principle. Yeah. So let's do that. But by the way, so do we acknowledge that the effect happens, that we observe a fringe shift? No, I'm not talking about laser ring gyros because they have quantum blocking issues. But like you can do the apparatus and you can just do it without lasers, without any sort of blocking. You can just do the apparatus and you will observe a fringe shift. Do we recognize that exists?
Yeah, there's a sidereal rotation. Yeah.
All right. So how does the rotation of the heavens affect that? Tell me.
Okay.
Let's hear about Mach's principle.
Yeah. So you first of all, you guys rebutted by saying the reason that Einstein on his deathbed said he didn't think it was true because he said that the lights are so far away that it wouldn't actually strongly affect it because it would have to be going faster than the speed of light to be spinning around a stationary Earth. Now we don't believe in your stupid distances. We know that there seems to be a fluid-like medium. There's also a background medium which would transfer the motion down to a stationary Earth, and you get an effective centrifugal force with the mediums exchanging the interaction.
Okay. So where is this fluid-like medium? Sorry.
Okay, so for one,
dude, they never have a rebuttal. So he's like, "Please tell me how it could, like, how the heavens could possibly be doing this, right?" And then I gave him specifics. He should say, like, "Oh, so you're like, oh, I guess that would work if you had a medium or something." Like they never acknowledge it. I guess
they want to know every point. That's the thing. They immediately jump to like, okay, I'm gonna make him try to explain every single thing in his model, even though falsification is independent of replacement. They just try to nitpick it, bro. That's exactly.
Well, that's the double standard. Yeah, it's like if I say gravity's electrostatics, they're like they got 500 questions, they want 500 experiments, they're the most critical, and like I answer all the questions, but then it's like, wait, have you done all that for gravity? And you can't even define gravity.
Yeah, flip it around on them. Ask them why the integrals are the exact same, basically proportional to the distance, the inversely proportional to the distance. The math.
I guess the point is that like this is how you know they're brainwashed. They have a double standard. So if I'm like electrostatics, I'm like everything's intrinsically electrostatic. It can change the weight, acceleration, and the vector. We can prove this, an independent variable, blah blah blah. Density is intrinsically compatible with matter, electrostatic. You get it. I can answer all the questions. Why don't positive charges and negative charges fall at different rates? It's incredibly weak, 10 microamps electric current down to the earth, density buoyancy relationship significantly stronger. I'm talking fast because my point is that they'll ask all these questions and they're like, wait, let's test it. Let's see if this is true. You know, like what exactly is it, Witsit? But they didn't do any of that for gravity that they believe in. They don't even have a definition of it. They like their own academic sources all disagree on what it is. They can't figure it out. They don't. That's what I'm saying. That's like how you can tell they're incognito. Same thing with space-time. No, that's cool. It gets a free pass. But, oh, did you say fluid-like medium? Did you say ether? I got a million questions. So it's just like weird.
Dark matter, dark energy, free pass. But you say ether? Oh, heck no, buddy.
Exactly. It's funny.
I think it's obvious indoctrination is what it is, because if people are that quick to just believe anything and then have all of those questions over something that's not costing them any money, the flat earth is not what we're funding. We're funding the globe model. So why would we have all of this speculation for a model that's not costing any taxpayer money, but we accept things like dark matter and all of this nonsense for the globe model that is costing us upwards to around 80 million a day?
Yeah, that's actually a good point too. Even like they pay for college to learn this stuff and they don't even question it. But
yeah,
what you gonna do?
Yeah, like seemingly in the sky, right? And secondly, we also have a background medium.
What is this background medium, and is it detectable?
Yeah, it is detectable. We have the Casimir effect. We have vacuum energy, 0-point energy. You guys call it quantum foam. We have
Casimir
dielectric
effect requires
permittivity.
special relativity.
We have dielectric. Nothing
What is going on? I gotta debate this dude sometime.
requires your theoretical
awesome,
That's so goofy. The Casimir effect actually is like attraction and repulsion, by the way.
That's like his favorite sentence to say. This requires general relativity. You knew that, right? This requires special relativity. You know that, right? Like he says that so much, and when you throw that out in a TikTok debate, of course, a normal flat earther is not going to be able to talk about relativity. Like going through relativity is a headache in and of itself. So that's what he hopes. That's why it's really entertaining to have him talk to people like me, you, Derek, because we have studied relativity and we actually can follow the points. And so yeah.
And that's why I do my show relatively simple and stuff. Is like I'm trying to. It's like it's kind of like relativity.
Yeah, it necessitates a whole show, bro, because it's so confusing explaining the different coordinate systems. But once you understand the basics of relativity, that everything's relative and that a geocentric model is just as holds as much weight, it's just it can explain the phenomena just as well, like everything, redshift as well as the what do they call it? Retrograde motion. Like once people realize that it's literally admitting that both frames of reference are valid, then we'll have a serious shift. But until then, we'll be dealing with guys like this.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm gonna try to move a couple things around, so I'm gonna go back to full screen for just a second, and then I'll pull us back on camera. But just so you know, so we'll just keep watching, commentating. I'm gonna go full screen for like maybe a couple minutes when I mess around with this setup real fast, so I can move my screen over.
Bet.
All right. Full screen.
Yeah, the globe earthers act like there's only one possible explanation for an observation. Like there's more than one way things can work out, and like to pretend as if the one way that your government told you is the only possible explanation for lights in the sky or whatever it is you're hung up on. That's crazy. Like there's always more than one explanation. Like
when you really dive into the papers, special relativity and general relativity papers, and subsequent papers, the evolution of physics and relativity, special and general theory, and electrodynamics of moving bodies, which is special relativity, blah, blah, blah. You find out that this is totally different story than what they say. But it does take some time to learn it and figure out the lingo. But that's why I really get triggered about people like this, honestly, because it's like, you're overdoing it. Like you're pretending it's so much better than it truly is because the average person doesn't know all the minutia. And frankly, you probably don't either. And I find that to be pretty just detrimental to society. So.
That's why it's necessary we point this out with this guy, because this is exactly what he does. I see right through them, bro. That's exactly their point and what they try to do. They bring up really concise, specific terms, hope people don't understand, hope people don't ask them to explain. But yeah, once you actually understand the fundamental basic of relativity, dude, Renzi Cow does it awesome. Have you seen that video?
Yeah, the Asian dude that did the Olympiad rewards. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I bet he'll never watch it rebut that. He'll never rebut any of this stuff. It's whatever. But special relativity can only be applied on a very small, infinitesimal scale on flat, small local units, not in the force of, not in the vicinity of anything else. There can be no external forces acting on it for special relativity to apply. So it's just funny. It's funny, right? But whatever. All right, let me mess with the screen. So I'm going to kind of let you guys talk. As soon as you talk, I'll pause, and then I'll move us back over.
Predicted by special relativity, by QED in particular.
Okay, so
that is evidence of QED, by the way.
No, it's not. So we have dude, taking the effect observed and then claiming that your interpretation of it somehow is required for the observation to happen is insane.
Okay,
so that's why we.
Oh, let's stop there. We're starting a minute. Whoever wants to take it, you can take it this time, Austin. You get a minute to talk.
Sure.
Go ahead.
So when we look at a vacuum chamber, we have electromagnetic energy. We have the Casimir effect. We have 0-point energy, vacuum energy, quantum foam. There are many names for it. It is not just simply Newtonian emptiness. It has a substantive quality, and we have impedance of free space. So that is why there is a huge gap in current cosmology and quantum mechanics that cannot explain the substantive quality and then also reconcile Michelson and Morley. So we know that there is a background medium. So then if we have an actual rotation over top of a stationary plane, it would transfer this energy and this motion or this interaction down through the medium, and we will be able to detect it on the Earth with sensitive equipment such as interferometry. So it's pretty simple, and we have tons of evidence for the ether. I can quote even like Frank Welczak, Nobel Prize winner in your own paradigm. Everyone knows it. Everyone knows that there is a background medium that we observe inside of a vacuum chamber. It's not simply Newtonian emptiness, and that's what quantum field theory acknowledges as well.
Make it a question.
So if there is a background medium, it would transfer this interaction down to the Earth. It's pretty simple.
And the light would be traveling on it, so it would change the speed of the light.
How's this motion transferred?
Through the medium.
By what mechanism? No, by what mechanism? Because we know how water transfers motion. For example, if you spin the middle of water, we know how that water transfers motion to the outside. By what mechanism is the motion transferred from the celestial sphere to the thing to the laser jet or to the second apparatus?
Say I fill a bathtub up with water and I move my hand over the water, and I can move the water without touching the water. How does that interaction happen?
Wait, is your hand in the water or you're not in the water?
No, it's just above the water.
It's just wind.
Wind. So how does it happen? Explain specifically how
you're bumping air molecules into the water molecules.
Okay, so there's an exchange. There's a molecular exchange from your hand down through the medium to the other medium.
Yeah. So you're bumping molecules into
you're
bumping molecules into other molecules. There are no molecules in this medium that you're describing. It doesn't have molecules. It's just a background field. How does it happen?
The atmosphere isn't made of particles?
No, we're not talking about the atmosphere here because presumably you don't think that the air is what's transferring this motion.
Well, actually, it would all play a role. So yeah, well, I guess I said in the debate. Yeah, it would all play a role, but he's saying what is this background? What are we talking about? And then he's telling us what it is and what it can't be. It's goofy, but yeah. Anyway, the medium exchange is pretty simple. Fluid-like medium exchange. Whatever the medium of space is, whatever the air is, the fluid-like nature of both of them, and the background medium would all be transferring this energy. But you're saying that energy couldn't transfer through the background medium. Then how do we have the electromagnetic fluctuations inside of a vacuum? We see energy transferred in a vacuum consistently.
What we don't see.
How do we have wireless power induction in a vacuum? You on that one there, my guy Blitz?
We don't see what basically you're alluding to, which is frame dragging. That's not a thing in quantum electrodynamics. It's not a thing in quantum chromodynamics or any sort of quantum field theory for that matter. Frame dragging is what you need in order to have induced rotation from an outside medium.
Okay, so you're talking about isolating a very small scale and claiming that the overall effect that we detect with ring laser gyros don't happen. I could ask you the same thing. How come that we don't detect the rotation of the Earth on quantum electrodynamics scale?
Hold on, I didn't make the claim that we don't.
Why can we not detect the alleged rotation of the Earth on the quantum scale?
I don't even know if that's true, that we can't.
No, we definitely can't. And so the point is, yeah, I'm positive. So that's the whole point. Well, you just made the claim. You made the claim that it wouldn't work because you can't detect it, but you can't detect your idea of
No, I didn't make the claim that it doesn't work because you can't detect it. I'm making the claim that it can't work because you haven't provided a mechanism to explain how it works.
It's a simple exchange.
Dude, you have a real set of inertial forces: centrifugal, Coriolis, and Euler forces. The centripetal, the net centripetal force occurs because the Coriolis is 2 times as strong as the centrifugal. If you have the entire cosmos moving around the Earth, this would be transferred through an ether, even with or without one, frankly. But if you have an ether, it's going to transfer this at basically instantaneous action at a distance. So yes, it's very simple. Energy transfer through a fluid-like medium. That is a physical mechanism by definition.
Of energy through a medium like we have.
Okay, so how is that medium exchanging energy?
Okay, we'll go back and forth.
Frame dragging effect.
We'll go back and forth on that forever. So Globe side, you got a minute to ask a question. Whoever wants to ask.
See, Jaren saved it because we would have gone back and forth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To move on to a different topic, I mean, kind of in the same field but something different. In my opener, I had mentioned the pressure gradient, which if you guys remember, I had discussed that within a container or not, the only way we're going to observe this kind of gradient, especially on a flat Earth, is either A, you would have to accept gravity, which unfortunately would mean the flat Earth would coalesce into a ball, or B, you would have to say that the Earth is accelerating upwards at a rate of 9.8 meters per second squared. Obviously, you guys don't like those answers. I'm at least pretty sure that you're not okay with those answers. But with gravity,
I'm moving back over to the camera screen.
Can predict exactly this. The actual weight of the atmosphere above you, you can think of it almost like a column, is going to be causing the actual pressure. And again, that's something that we predict with gravity. So I guess I would want to know where are you guys deriving this 9.8 meters per second squared acceleration from, and why is it consistent, between every single object we drop, for example, in a vacuum when no other forces are acting upon it?
If I can, guys. So to have a gradient at all, you have to have a container. So that's what we're invoking. Both our model has a container for the oceans, which water necessitates a container, as well as atmospheric pressure, atmospheric gases. They would also necessitate a container. So there is a container, and there is a gradient to that container in the atmosphere. So we could ask you the exact same thing. We could ask you, how could you prove that you have atmospheric pressure when air pressure is literally measured by the exhortation on the actual container? That's how we measure air pressure. As well as you literally have to, when you're thinking of your guys' model, it's the atmosphere sitting right next to a vacuum of space, and they say that it's slowly getting getting away. It's slowly drifting out into space. The particles are going out into space slowly, but there is no mechanism to prove that they would go slow. If you can't replicate it at the surface of the Earth where gravity is supposedly strongest, you definitely cannot replicate it or invoke it that it's happening at the top of the atmosphere.
Okay, you got, so who asked that question? Globes asked it?
Yeah, that was me that asked it.
Okay, and then you guys, so go ahead, you have a minute. Globe.
Yeah, so like I said, if we were inside of a container, what we would expect is that gas pressure is going to, again, this is if we don't have gravity acting upon it, unless you have another force that you could say. Whether we're in a container or not, again, the only way we're going to be able to figure that out, or that we're going to get that gradient, is because of a downwards acceleration. On a flat Earth, what we would predict is that because of diffusion, the gas molecules are going to spread out evenly, and you guys have not defined a force that could pull it down at that rate. That's really all it comes down to. And unless you guys have something that we could, replace it with that is probable and testable, then I don't see any reason that we should have to accept that flat Earth has any way to explain it. Blitz or Globe, if you guys wanted to add something, go ahead.
Yeah, so the whole notion that you can't have a gradient outside of a container. I just asked the question. There are continuous regions of.
Sorry, you say something.
I was just saying, they pretend like they've never heard the explanation for electromagnetism, the incoherent electric static, the downward flux caused by the gradient. It's crazy.
Yeah.
We need to make a McCune law, like McCune's laws for Globers. That one of the laws will be that they go to bed and act like they didn't hear the argument from the day before.
Seriously, it's crazy.
Do they have meetings, bro? Kai was like, Kai was like, just step back and think about it. These people work for you. If you come up with a new argument, McCune now has a new assignment he obsessively researches and tries to find a way to get rid of the argument. It's pretty funny if you look at it that way. Imagine defending your proven globe with a clearly CGI image of it as your background. Why not a photo? Nominal, thank you for the $10 super chat. That is a pretty funny observation.
That is great.
Yeah.
Of water, right? You can draw a line all the way around either the flat Earth or all the way around the globe Earth, and there will be places where you can make a complete loop of water, right? Where's the container for the water? It doesn't have walls on all sides, right? Because you can make a complete loop. And yet we...
Yeah, the ocean floor.
Okay. Wait, so
the ground? It's our time. Start our minute. So the ocean.
I'll wait a bit. Pause that. So 142.32.
There's more dense than the air. What the vacuum
doesn't have a container.
It's
connected
so
to the
bad,
outside
bro.
of
Yeah, this part is really bad.
the oceans that is directly touching the Antarctic wall, as well as the bottom of the oceans is contained by the bottom of the ocean. So again, when we're talking about this, we have to realize that you cannot invoke anything. You can't show me air pressure. You can't show me gases staying at a gradient without a container, other than when Globey invokes the atmosphere, which is in question, which is a reification fallacy. It happens constantly when we bring this up. So I would like one experiment to prove that we can have atmospheric or gas pressure without a container. Can I get one experiment and Derek take up the rest of the time?
Well, and also you guys saying that if gravity was a real thing on the flat Earth, it would crush the flat Earth into a ball. That's a straw man argument based off of the assumption that gravity pulls everything to the center. Ours is it's a downward vector generated by the electrostatics of the atmosphere. So for you to say that it would crush us into a ball and it's not possible to have this downward vector without this magical gravity, you're totally baiting people in the...
Go ahead, you guys got a minute now?
What's the physical barrier on top of the ocean?
No, I'm not
asking why it's level. You said the water is contained on all sides. What's containing the... You said a physical barrier needs to be on top of the water to have water pressure.
Okay, you have a whole minute. Hold on. Give them a whole minute to answer or to ask a question.
You said a physical barrier needs to be on top of the water to have pressure. Water has a lot of pressure. So what's containing it? And yet it has sides. Sure, we'll agree it has sides. What's on top of it?
To be clear, the Earth also, the atmosphere is also contained on the bottom by the ground, right? So if you can use the bottom of the ocean to contain the water in the ocean, then why can't we use the bottom of the ground, the surface of the water, the surface of the Earth, to contain the air in our model, right?
You need sides.
Like to be able to do that.
You said it needs to have a container. So explain what the container is of the water. Why is the surface of the water? Why isn't the high pressure of the water bursting out of the top of the water?
I'd also like to know what you guys think a container is in the remaining 3 seconds that we have. So if you guys could address that as well, that'd be great.
So what do you guys understand? You know that's not analogous at all. The water's more dense than the air, but the vacuum is less dense than the air.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
We do understand. Thank you for admitting it.
So that's a very dumb. That
is what causes air pressure. So thank you for admitting that's the atmosphere.
Flat side, go.
Yeah, impulse control, not your time. So asking, hey, impulse control, not your time, bro. Impulse control. Stop. Can you restart our time?
I will restart it.
No one has impulse controls except you.
Dude, you're still talking. What are you doing, Globey?
Everybody,
it's recorded, bud. What are you doing?
Relax. Here we go. Minute for you guys.
It's recorded, but
go ahead.
Dude, he hates me, bro. He hates me so much.
Yeah, you guys clearly have a history.
Oh yeah, we've got a long history. He loves it.
Why is there, where is the container on top of the ocean's water? There's atmospheric pressure and it's densest at the bottom, which is pushing down on the water. And it's more dense than the molecules that are oxygen and nitrogen and these other molecules that make up our atmosphere. So that's why things go down in the medium of the air. So if you're more dense than nitrogen, oxygen, and other molecules, you're going to go down. Now you're going to say, what decides a downward vector? And Globeman has constantly reiterated this. You don't have a medium. You don't have a force. Electrostatics, there's 100 volts per meter. There's plenty of Richard Feynman lectures that explain this, that as you go up into the atmosphere, 100 volts per meter, there's an electrostatic charge that is constantly seeking down. And I know that you forgot and you act like you don't know that the Earth's surface is negatively charged at about 500,000 coulombs. So if there's positive charge in the air and the Earth's surface is negatively charged, the atmosphere is going to seek the ground, creating the vector.
Time. Well,
Cite that, please.
It's
I'll drop it in the chat.
Flat Earth term.
Cite a downward vector from what you just said.
I'd also like to ask why is it that hold on, this is our time.
Not common sense.
I believe Flat Earth time to ask a question.
Impulse control.
So I'm glad that Witsit acknowledged that heavier things don't need a container above them if there's something less dense above them. Like the vacuum is less dense than the air, so of course it doesn't need a container above it. I'm glad that Witsit admitted that. I'm glad that we can agree that the air doesn't need an upwards container to make that work. Also, I'd like to keep in mind that
Bruh, what is this dude talking about, bro?
That was bad.
Dude, it's so bad. This portion of the debate is just laughable.
I literally pointed out that the air above the dude, I pointed out that the water is much more dense, that it's not analogous to a vacuum, and then they said, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You could put like 5 facepalm little gifs here, like in multiple places that just make perfect sense. Just facepalm. What?
Yeah, like liquid is the same as air next to a vacuum.
They just literally basically tried to say that liquids, the atmosphere, gases, and vacuums are the same thing and would work like.
Since the ocean isn't contained, meaning what? That it should fill the air?
Bro.
Right? Which it actually, when it evaporates, it does. But it's just so stupid, right? It's fluid. It's like liquid. It's not. That's just insanely dumb, but whatever.
From the air isn't a container in the sense that you guys refer to. When you guys talk about containers, you're talking about a water bottle, you're talking about a glass box. But downward pressure isn't that. So you still need to explain how it is that water has a pressure that's obviously pointing up, and yet somehow still the air pressure keeps it down. That all that says to me is that a container is just a force keeping it in, and we can provide a force keeping the air in. So why do you accept this downward pressure from air, but not the downward force of gravity? I know, because you reject gravity.
Is that a question?
Air pressure is.
Yes, we all know air pressure almost reduces to a vacuum, right? Do you guys disagree? Air pressure decreases with altitude?
No, of course not. So you guys claimed that the gradient is
I'm not very I'm just not very good in this debate. I'm sorry. I'm like immediately just like talking, not waiting on the timer, talking way too much. So I feel bad.
No, it's all good.
It was a fun one, bro.
3v3 is tough though, especially like
it is tough
when they say so much BS. You just want to.
Possible. There's so much to tear apart.
Yeah.
That sounds insane to me. So you can replicate all of this. You can go to a lab, have a container, put gas in it, introduce gas constantly at the surface like we have on the Earth. Gas is constantly cycling, being introduced from the surface. In fact, the vast majority of our gas comes from underneath the surface. And then we could introduce a downward electric current inside that vacuum. And we are 100% going to maintain a gradient with or without the electric current maintains it with more stability. So we can prove it. And when I brought it up as to the differences between the ocean, it's obvious, I assumed. But of course, you have a fluid medium with air above it. These like water and air are not the same. The density distribution relative to those two things are completely different. That's an insane question. And of course, I dropped Richard Feynman lectures 9 section 1, chapter 9 section 1, explaining the exact downward electric current that they invoked. Since you asked for a source, there it is. And so again, we can replicate that in a contained environment. You could have a gradient, certainly with gas introduced to the surface with a downward electric current on top of it, keeping that stable. So the question is, what do you guys have that keeps that from dispersing to the infinite available space?
We told you it's gravity.
You can see that Blitz and Globeman are both looking over the paper. Did we ever hear them post-debate talk about it or try to refute it? Absolutely.
I would imagine no. So they asked for the source, but this always happens. It's a tactic to hope that you don't get it real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I talk about so much stuff. Sometimes I can't find it. I'm flooded. So it's a useful tactic. You can make the person look like they're wrong or making something up if they can't immediately get it. And then what they do, and I know what these two did because they did it on TikTok. I brought up like this different stuff in the South, and I have like 1 million PDFs, and so I'm trying to look at it, and they're spamming me with questions while I'm like, they're both trying to ask me questions while I'm trying to look it up. So I'm getting distracted answering their questions, and they're like, look, he can't find the source. He made it up. Like, no, if I go look for the source of all my PDFs, you pretend I can't answer your questions. It's a weird tactic, but then you go get the paper immediately and drop it in there. And then they just ignore it. It's like children.
Don't think they're not doing it on purpose either, because that's exactly their tactic. Like they've admitted that before they go into certain debates, they will seriously just try to irritate the person. That way, they make them look bad on the live instead of answering questions. But they admit this stuff, how they work.
Yikes. Yeah.
Yep. I don't think it's positively charged. If the Earth is negatively charged and it's not gravity but electrostatics that keeps things down, why is it that you can charge like an iron ball, give it just a little bit of negative charge, and it doesn't fall up?
Bruh.
Oh
my god. Let me explain this real fast to everyone. I was talking about this on Discord today. Okay. There's a downward electric current on the Earth. Everything is trying to go to the Earth to seek equilibrium. There's a downward electric current. It's 10 microamps. It's measurable, but very small. Very, 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 very weak. The density relationship with an object in the medium creates a buoyant force. That buoyant relationship is way stronger than the downward electric current. It just sets up and down, okay? And so that force is going to overtake that. It's going to cause it to seek equilibrium. In order to overcome it, you would have to introduce a ton of electrostatics because it is so weak relative to stuff like weight or density. Pretty simple. Pretty simple stuff. But whatever.
Can't make things float with charge.
Yeah, but hold on.
Yeah, they don't like they always will just go back to the straw man. They're like, Witsit says electrostatics pulls everything down to the Earth, but why don't negative and positive objects fall at different rates or go up?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't think that electrostatics is some magical, really strong force pulling everything down to the Earth. They're brainwashed with that idea because they can't get out of the globe paradigm. You know what I'm saying? They're like, yeah. So.
If it wasn't mass, if it was just charge, then the mass of the lead ball, the mass of the iron ball wouldn't matter at all. All that would matter is the amount of charge. So you just put just the amount of negative charge and it would float up. Why does it still go down?
My God.
Mass is intrinsically electrostatic, so is density, so is weight.
Prove it. What is the electric field around a neutral atom?
Prove it. All molecular and intermolecular attractive forces are electrostatic.
Yeah, they're covalent. They're covalent. What is the so in a metal because metals aren't covalent bonds nor are they ionic. In a metal, what is the electric field around a neutral atom?
It's not about electric field around it. First of all, there is no such thing as neutral charge, right? Like you can try to attain neutral, but there's constant flux.
Net neutral, fine.
There's no such thing as net zero. There's no such thing.
What is the electric field around a net neutral atom?
There's no such
atom
thing.
with the same number of electrons as protons. What is the electric field around it?
There's no such thing as net neutral.
Yes, there are. Yes, there are. This is the thing that we can make all the time. Net neutral atoms are the most common type of atoms.
There's no such
what is the
thing.
electric field? Wait, so you're
This
just
is
projecting
something we can make all the time.
Like standard chemistry is that atoms in their natural state.
Time. We got
the same number of electrons as protons.
Flat side, you get to take a minute. I guess mostly Derek. I think we're on Derek. Derek, go ahead, take a minute.
You're good.
Well, first of all, to just address a claim that they had earlier.
It's so obvious that him and I need to do a debate, you know.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
obvious.
obvious.
He won't though, bro. Look at the pause. Look what he's doing right now after claiming net neutrality exists. Look what he's doing. He's pondering like, oh man, I just lied to like 13.
Yeah. What they always do is conflate like net charge with actual charge. So if they're like, oh, there's no net charge, they think that means no charge. But it doesn't. And actually it constantly fluctuates. But on that small of a scale, it's like, well, you know, it's not going to make a huge difference.
In their model, like if we were to try to explain that to the audience, there would be no net and I wanted to ask you this too, just obviously I'm not going to into the debate. With there being no net neutrality, that's due to polarization of these, and this is all in their model, right? Just talking in their paradigm. That's due to polarization of the electrons moving through the apparatus to ground, right?
Yeah. When you said no net neutrality, so what he's trying to say is if the object's held together by electrostatics, what about neutral atoms? And that with certain metals, as if certain metals aren't held together intrinsically by electrostatics. I don't even know what he's talking about, but yeah, they will claim that electrons are being grounded into the ground and dissipating. But this is what sucks is it gets into all the definitions of the term. So it's like, what is electron? What is positive charge? What is negative charge? What is net charge? What is actual charge? In reality, everything has a charge, even their own paradigm, fundamental elementary charge, even if they say it's 1/3 charge with certain subatomic particles. It's charge. Everything is charge, right? And then positive charge is charging. Negative charge is actually discharging. It's just two different processes of charging. It's so whenever it's like high pressure, low pressure of gas, you get them together, they're going to try to equalize out. That's why negative and positive attract. The point is that you have to like redefine these terms to then actually address it. And I've never actually found a globe proponent that will patiently do that. But basically what he's doing here is he's conflating net charge with no charge, right? So like neutral with no charge. And those are not the same thing. And neutral is just a concept because it's relatively close to being what you can think of not having charge and a net charge. But
so no charge, basically that can't happen because of electrons and protons exist in their model.
Yeah, they're intrinsically electric. Like there is no such thing as no charge. Yeah.
Kaleb, I don't know if you saw the Planet Peterson debate I had, but I was trying to explain that to him. Witsit, you just said it perfectly, but like they will argue that doesn't exist, and you just explained it perfectly because it has to exist on their model, but they will straight deny that.
Yeah, it's weird.
Weird.
But whatever. I mean, then what holds it together? He'll probably say the weak and strong nuclear force, right? And they've now admitted, well, there's the electroweak force, meaning that at certain parameters or certain velocities, the weak force is actually just electromagnetic. And they're going to find the same thing with the strong force reluctantly. But they changed the weak nuclear force to the electroweak force, and they realized that at certain velocities it changes. Long story short, everything's intrinsically electromagnetic, and it's in different versions or modalities, specifically vibrations. But it sucks because like a lot of this stuff is really important that people like find out, right? That people are told all these terms and they're assumed definitions and they're maybe not true. And in this environment, you can never really edify or learn, right? It's just like, throwing mud.
Yeah.
Earlier talking about how we need to prove that these things are moving. If you were to look up at the sun, the stars, the moon, and anything in the sky, it is in fact moving. It is the globe people's responsibility to prove that it is the ground that's moving and not the lights that are in the sky. This is one of the many ways that they try to mislead you and misdirect your attention into asking questions that shouldn't be asked. They should be answering these questions. To touch on the atmospheric pressure, it's measured in all directions. To pretend like the physical weight of the atmosphere or the atmosphere's pressure is the physical weight of this atmosphere being pulled to the ground, that is ridiculous because you can measure the atmospheric pressure in any direction, down, up, sideways, left, right, diagonal, however. And the globe people they're not going to argue that when you put 30 pounds of pressure into a tire, that tire's not going to weigh 30 pounds more. But then they will turn right around and claim that's the 13.7 psi that we all experience as our air is somehow magically the downward pull of the atmosphere, but it's measurable in all directions. Makes perfect sense.
Was that a question?
That wasn't a question.
That's just a rebuttal.
I guess you guys can say whatever you want. You have a minute.
You just wanted to destroy them.
Sure.
I just got sick of that.
The atmosphere doesn't pull us down. But I don't know why you said that.
Yeah, because that's something that I talked about before. Again, the pressure, if you look at the barometric formula, it's derived from the principle that the air above us is going to be what's causing the weight. So I don't see how we're going to claim that it's something else, such as the gas bouncing off of a physical container. It doesn't make sense. I mean, again, like I said, I showed the formula originally in my opener. I can pull it up again.
Dude, I buried the whole thing by specifically invoking experiments in a lab that can be replicated using a container.
He didn't hear it.
That's crazy.
Oh, they heard it. They heard it. They just didn't want to hear him.
Well, they just like clocked out when I did that. Like I don't.
He's probably said that exact same sentence like 10 other times in debates since this debate.
Yeah, that's weird.
It does require gravity, little g, right? A downward acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared. And if you're going to invoke electrostatics, I just wanted to ask, wouldn't that mean that paramagnetic?
It does require gravity, little g, just so everyone knows. Downward acceleration is supposedly the effect of gravity. So, like, if you point that out and then pretend that proves gravity, it's really remedial.
Diamagnetic, ferromagnetic objects would fall at different rates. Why would we expect them to fall at the exact same rate if it truly was that instead? I'm a little confused about that.
That's not electrostatics. But one thing to add
Blitz
is
has
that
to correct him here.
Charge distribution and thus the electric field around a neutral atom is zero.
Okay,
well, the charge distribution is metric, so the electric field is zero.
You don't have to. You can ask a question.
I had to come back and try to save face on the neutral thing.
From Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
he'd been thinking about it that whole time, bro. You
I want to hear what exactly.
He was thinking about it the whole time.
Yeah, let me hear exactly what he said.
Ferromagnetic objects would fall at different rates. Why would we expect them to fall
Incredibly stupid, by the way.
at the exact same rate if it truly was that instead? I'm a little confused about that.
That's magnetism, not electrostatics. But one thing to add is that the charge distribution and thus the electric field around a neutral atom is zero.
Okay,
well, the charge distribution is metric, so the electric field is zero.
You don't have to. You can ask a question or whatever, Derek. Go ahead.
Okay.
What?
That's hilarious. Nothing. He's just saying that the electric field is zero, but he's still conflating the net. So he didn't actually have a change in rebuttal, but he did correct. You heard him correct Globe Man over here.
Yeah. I heard that when we were in the debate. Like he's like, why don't ferromagnetic? Why don't all these different dude? We're talking electrostatic, idiot. Like,
not magnetism. Yeah, so it's good that he did that. I'll give him that. He's smart enough to know like some stuff he can't just stamp it. That's why credentials are so good. Yeah, because they have to have some type of integrity.
Dude, I'm realizing like it's getting to the point where it is basically useless to debate somebody that doesn't have credentials because they don't feel the need to actually accurately represent the history or the current paradigm. Like they'll just throw out anything, bro. Like the people that aren't like don't have credentials, they'll just say the craziest shit. And what's the point of talking?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and it's like I'm trying to get them all lined up to go ahead and agree in advance. I want them to see necessarily too many and be like, ooh, do I want to go in there? Right.
Yeah.
We'll see. I already had an issue with something falling through, so I'm trying. I was hoping Blitz would be clutch and come on tomorrow.
Yeah, I really tried, bro.
No, you did. No, it's not your fault. I mean, we'll try and figure it out.
So I'm curious then, if gravity is 9.8 meters per second squared acceleration rate, but the strength of gravity near the surface versus up higher is negligible, what causes objects to accelerate at a certain speed? And why don't objects that are orbiting the Earth because of gravity, why don't they keep accelerating? You're going to tell me that a rocket ship can gain its speed by orbiting the Earth a few times to get up to its speed. Why does it stop accelerating? What force stops this object from increasing its speed as it's orbiting around the Earth? If it's orbiting around the Earth because of gravity, and gravity is an acceleration rate, and it's negligible in between the surface of the ground by 10 miles up. Sure, I think that's like 12% difference where the ISS is, but it's not increasing its speed. It's maintaining a 17,500 mile an hour orbit, but it's acted on by gravity. How does that work?
Oh, and the last 15 seconds. So actually, there's no such thing as net neutral. It's in constant flux. You just consistently saying it means nothing. It's in constant flux, just like there's no such thing as a neutral surface charge. It's in constant flux. That's why we ground things. We try to get it neutral, but it's constantly in flux and changing. That's just objective.
Sorry, no, this is just this is just false. Like neutral atoms exist all the time. We do chemistry on them. We do experiments on them in the laboratory. But this is just another. This is a funny point that you bring up, Derek, because the reason things orbit is because of the acceleration downwards. When you have something moving this way and there's an acceleration this way, it causes their velocity to point in a different direction. And because they're moving, their velocity bends at the exact same rate that they need to go around in a circle. That acceleration makes the orbit happen. It doesn't change their speed. They don't loop around the Earth to gain speed. They fire rockets to gain speed.
Can I respond?
I don't know. Well, we still have 25.
They just completely ignore that it's in a constant state of flux. Like if you ground an object, it's going to constantly be in flux, changing, specifically even getting electrostatic induction, and then shooting it into the ground. And things are constantly fluxing. There's intrinsic vibrational resonance. So when he says that they use neutral atoms, where they get the least amount of vibration, or even what they would call spin. Okay, so that it's never zero. And net is not the same as zero charge. I don't understand why people. Whatever.
5 seconds. You guys want
They
to
don't look like they're enjoying the.
Oh no, I don't really think I have much to add to that.
So
You
you
kinda
can tell
hit
me
on it.
rockets don't
Wait,
go around the
them
Earth
finish.
getting speed to fly to the moon.
Let them finish.
Yeah, but they burn their engines while they do that.
They shut their main off after 3 minutes of takeoff.
Yeah, so they don't gain speed while they're just going around.
Yes, you're talking about, there's a difference between orbiting Earth and using a planet as a slingshot to gain velocity. That's two different things.
And by the way, both require rocket burns.
Is it our turn or their turn?
It's really, we went through, I think, everybody. So we can go to the questions from the chat, or we can do another round of that if you want.
We do have 2 minutes till 11. Maybe are you guys okay swapping to chat questions? Is this unless anybody wants to close anything off?
I don't think unless you want to. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't do that.
That's debate right there.
Okay. I don't know how it goes if we went closing or anything like that, but dang, I talked the whole time. I'm sorry.
No, it's good.
No,
It was a great conversation. If imagine go back to 2015, give every single flat earther this debate for them to listen to, and the context to study, and the terminology to look through. That would be insane, bro. That would have leveled up the community like crazy. So it's important that at least we're having these conversations now. So I really did want to just get you in here. I really wanted you and Blitz to have a conversation. So yeah, don't feel bad at all, and we can always do it again. So I love the conversation. I learned from this conversation, and I'm sure that people that listened to it really learned a lot, as well as from the debate review. Hopefully people got some information from it as well. So, yeah, it was awesome, dude. We definitely need to team up more, all of us, and do some more debates, whether you come onto our platform, TikTok, or we come join you on YouTube. It's important to have these conversations, especially with these people like Blitz.
Nice, yeah. Sorry, I was trying to fix the layout. It's being such a headache, bro.
You're good. No,
but yeah, it was cool, man.
You.
I feel bad because I something like I get triggered when people have credentials and they go in there and I can tell they're being deceptive.
Yeah.
Because they know they can use terms and stuff and just claim victory, and people are like, oh, he must not know what he's talking about, and he's exaggerating the validity of these theories and stuff like that. But I should have been more chill. I don't know why I was so.
No, you did a good job, man. You did a good job. I don't think anybody thought.
I remember
chill.
I remember
everybody. Sorry, everybody pointed out how the Glovers were acting. They were not happy the whole time.
Oh no, dude, you could tell. It was funny because I knew it was gonna be hot because when you came into the guest room, you were already talking smack when we were in the back room before you went live. So I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be good.
I do that every time, by the way. I always do that in every debate. I ask questions. I'm like, do you guys actually think there's a globe? I always ask questions like that in the back.
Just get in their head.
I just want to actually know. I want to look in their soul and hear them tell me that they actually think they know for a fact there's a globe.
Yeah.
Not even to get in their head. No, I just think it's funny to troll them.
That was good. That was good.
I troll all the time, dude. So I feel you. But yeah, thanks for bringing us on the platform. If anybody wants to check out our stuff, definitely check out our podcast and our TikTok.
All right, cool. Give me just a second. I'm gonna pull you on. I'm gonna let you guys kind of say where to find you. I got one more to do. Yeah, and then make sure you send me the links, like your link, Derek, and I'll throw it in the description. I have Kaleb's in there right now. If you have like a whatever preferred link or whatever, and I'll put you in there. Let me just go ahead and throw us over here. My goodness. Okay, there's Kaleb and here's Derek. Although we're basically getting out of here. So yeah, just tell everybody where they can find you guys and what you guys got coming up or whatever you want to say.
We got a podcast coming up every single week. Again, you can find mine and Derek's work if you're watching this after, if you're watching this live. My TikTok's in the description. You can go to the link tree in my description, in my bio, in my TikTok bio, and click the link tree there. You can find the podcast there, as well as my Instagram and my Telegram, where I keep everybody updated, pretty similar to what Witsit's doing over here. So other than that, when I'm not at my full-time job, I'll be home, hopefully debating here soon. So yeah, we'll have podcasts coming out weekly, and we will keep destroying the heliosexuals, hopefully on a daily basis.
Nice, Derek. What's up, brother?
Yeah, so I'll share my TikTok link with you, and then on my TikTok, I got a link tree that has a link to all kinds of different stuff, our merch store, up to our podcast and all that stuff. So click the link, go check out the link tree, see those things. We're working on building some clothes, getting some like a few things done over on Patreon, where we're going to start doing live replays and all of that. So you guys can look forward to that. We also have a relaunch on our website. So if you're already a member of the website, we are relaunching it. It's going to have a whole new look, a whole new feel. That's coming up hopefully in the next week. So look forward to that. And yeah, guys, I just hope that everybody knows that every time you listen, every time you hit the like button, every time you share these things, you're being the change that the world needs. And one day we're all going to be able to look back at this and realize that we're doing the right thing, that we are going to make the change that everybody wants, and to just keep every day, put one foot in front of the other. Don't let the globe people beat you down, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Preach. All right, cool. Well, yeah, thank you guys for coming on. I'm sorry about all the technical difficulties. I feel bad. Like,
yeah, it was funny.
We'll just have to have you guys back on without it all messing up.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Caleb knows that I go do that too.
Yeah, we all do. We all do.
And because but I did it multiple things, right? Like I'm like muting myself and then muting myself again and then not sharing the screen properly and cutting you. But hey, live and learn. Cool. And I do want to link up with you guys on TikTok, and you can kind of tell me even like what to do on there basically. But we'll do that and we'll see how it goes. And then I know you guys mentioned wanting to debate. Like we'll figure out something on MDD at some point. Maybe we can pop off some 2v2s and I can get you guys worked in there with James. I think that would be cool. And we basically merge the two platforms together, YouTube and TikTok.
Yeah,
that would be the move.
They're trying to do that as well. So yeah, you know, if you want to hit me up for any lives or anything like that, any tips on videos, you know, I'm your dude, bro.
Nice. All right, cool. Thank you guys for coming on. Yep. I'm a pop over solo. Tell them what we got coming on in the next few days, and then I will catch up with you guys soon.
Okay, later guys. Thanks for having me on again. Later guys.
Later everybody.
Much love. All right, like I said, my bad with the technical difficulties. That was my bad. I'm sure that was really kind of hard to deal with, but I'm sorry. Anyway, pretty interesting. Hopefully this guy will end up debating me. Another good show. Peace and Murray's Grease. Cool. Had something fall through for the guest tomorrow, so trying to work on somebody with credentials, preferably in a specific field that would be somewhat relevant to some of the stuff we talk. I mean, quantum mechanics, any type of physics, you know, so like physicists, pretty much any sort, astronomer, astrophysicist, even talking to people like pilots, maybe, preferably people with degrees, professional reputations. Professors are the best. I've just been super busy with so much going on. I got distracted and I haven't been able to replace, and I should have already tried to prioritize getting all the future weeks mapped out, but I'll try to get them all booked. I just have so much going on. Even like I have stuff also going on in my personal life, then like whatever things I have to take care of with the fam and stuff like that, and then like a million different things. I had to start messing with taking care of the RV, trying to get that situation ironed out. So it's just been a lot. But long story short, I'll try to get a good show for you guys tomorrow night. Worst case, I'm not going to put some random person on there as the third episode to follow up like the first two that were so good. But we'll get in the field consistently rocked out, and I'll get people scheduled for all the times in the future. And that's it. Yeah. So thank you guys for kicking it. That's pretty much it. We'll try to go tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern. Shabbat, of course, I chill, I rest. And then Sunday, we got Witsit biscuits and gravy. So I'll check my P.O. box tomorrow, and whatever's in there. By tomorrow, we'll read them off and hang out. Sunday morning, Globebusters in the afternoon. Cool. All right. And Audit NASA should be on the brink of really getting launched. And we have this whole system we're rolling out. That should be cool. If you want to support Audit NASA specifically, it's $Audit NASA on Cash App. You can also go to auditnasa.com, or you can go to paid.auditnasa.com to support Audit NASA. And that'll go to like the softwares to make the different portals, to have all the tasks and managers, and have all the different regional management, blah, 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 blah. All kinds of different stuff. That'll be separate if you want to support this channel specifically. Links in the description. They want the link for the debate. I did post it twice, but here's the link to the debate again. So there you go. And thank you for the $10 super chat. That was going to pop up on the screen, but it didn't. All right. Seek and speak truth unequivocally. The weak find contentment in the consensus of ignorance. So who cares what other people think? They're always going to attack you. That's what always happens. In fact, when they revile you for his name's sake, rejoice, for they did it to all the prophets before you. What's popular is not true. What's true is rarely popular. I'll catch up with you guys ideally tomorrow. If not, I'll try to keep you guys updated. Go check out the Telegrams, t.me/Misswits, and you can definitely stay up to date there. And you can go to t.me/Witsit streams to get all the sources from the streams. All right, cool. I love you guys. I'll catch up with you preferably tomorrow. Peace.
That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers acting say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up, had to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in the field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Took the way you saw the world, then distorted it. Now you think you wanna rock that twirl somewhere orbiting. Theories disproportionate, the truth distorted quick with a forceful grip. They force a simple that we absorbing quick. Took the people's signature that mean extorted it. They forging it. If news ain't good informant to informing them, there's a surplus, but they tell us there are shortages. Credit economy mortgages, dollar that's supported with empty fortresses. But what's important is this: we courting ships, important gifts. Of course it is, what extortion is in accordance with an assortment list of foreign tricks. We ignoring which informant this, informant this. It looked like we were snoring tricked. Pedophilia and the government endorsing it. Yeah, eugenics is exactly what abortion is. You just vilify those insubordinate. Way to matrix engineer, that's unfortunate. Geopolitically, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real? Rappers actors say they high, say they simple pills. Glorify suicide so they get the deals. Big pharma set it up just to flip the pills. Control the music industry until the scripts get filled. Geopolitically, yeah, we in a field. That's for Israel. Wonder, is it real?